Part 31. Fringe Artists in the Entertainment Industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 312. Chapter 302-300. Which artist can withstand such a test? In the quiet living room, Chen Lian and Sophie Marceau were candid and cuddled on the soft sofa. Sophie Marceau's slender calves rested on Chen Lian, and Chen Lian held her small solace in his hands. The stinging pain from the solace of her feet made her hum. Chen Lian held her foot and carefully pulled off a rose thorn on it. Sophie Marceau looked at Chen Lian and couldn't help complaining, "It hurts so much." Chen Lian blew lightly and said, "Don't you like it very much? I remember you wrote in the book that you liked how I did this to you." Humph! Sophie Marceau showed a rare womanly attitude, turned over with her hands on her hands and said, "It hurts in the back too. Check to see if there are thorns as well." Chen Lian took a closer look, reached out and patted it and said, "No, if you hadn't stepped on it just now, such a short thorn would have stuck." Sophie Marceau snorted and shook her head and said, "Look carefully." Chen Lian sat up and stretched out his hand to check, then looked at the dewdrops on his fingers, then leaned over and said in her ear, "There is no thorn, but I want to sprint." Sophie Marceau's eyes were filled with water, and she twisted her body slightly to indicate to Chen Lian that she was ready. The air in the living room seemed to have become moist at this time, like a winding stream or rough waves. Time passed minute by minute, and the second hand beat up and down. I don't know how long it took before the living room became quiet. In the early morning of the next day, Chen Lian got up early, took the phone and called China from the balcony of Sophie Marceau's house. "It's just after 10 o'clock in China now, so it's a good time to make a call." Chen Lian did not talk about this matter with Chen Myron, but told Li Dabai to pay attention to this matter. If anything unusual happens, he must tell him as soon as possible. After explaining to Li Dabai, Chen Lian called Cheng Shifen again and told her that she should pay attention to the gossip news in the media recently. If there is any gossip, she can spend more money to stop it. More than half an hour later, Chen Lian hung up the phone and looked at the still gray sky, feeling that sooner or later he would be pulled clean. "I hope it won't cause any harm to them by then. Scumbags don't care about reputation, but women are different. Their psychology is more sensitive and fragile. Chen Lian has the responsibility to help them, protect them from these storms. As a scumbag, Chen Lian is not very qualified. He fails to do the minimum and is irresponsible, which is simply an embarrassment to scumbags." Chen Lian couldn't help but sigh and said to himself, "I am still too kind. I can only be a scumbag, not a scumbag." After saying that, Chen Lian couldn't help but shudder. It was so cold in Paris in the early morning. Maybe he was disgusted by his shameless remarks. While it was still early, Chen Lian ran back to sleep. When Chen Lian woke up that day and said a simple goodbye to Sophie Marceau, he went back to Venice. After returning to Venice, Chen Lian felt in a trance, as if nothing had happened. No one talked to him about Sophie Marceau's book, but only discussed with Chen Lian the artworks in this exhibition. Artists are not gossip reporters. Who would pay attention to a book written by a star? But even if they knew, they wouldn't have any reaction, and they would still think this is not normal. There are a few famous artists in history who are not like this. Let's just say Picasso. He has had so many lovers in his life that he can count them all. This may be due to different perceptions in different circles, or in the open environment abroad. People don't care much about this kind of thing. What's there to say about the things you and I wish to do? There's nothing to do after we're full. In such an atmosphere, Chen Lian felt less irritable, and his mood felt much better because of Ji Fa's appearance. Ji Fa was looking at Chen Lian's work at this time. While admiring it, he was thinking about how to transport this work away. Such good works cannot be placed here or dismantled after the exhibition. That would be a blasphemy to art and money. After Ji Fa looked around, he turned to look at Chen Lian and Bai Qing, who were having an awkward moment. He couldn't help but interrupt them and asked, "Lian, what do you plan to do with this work?" Chen Lian glanced at Bai Qing, who still didn't want to talk to him, sighed, turned to look at Jifa and said, "You can do what you want, I don't care." Jifa rolled his eyes at Chen Lian speechlessly, then looked at the door of the exhibition hall and made a rough estimate and said, "It can be taken away, but it will be more troublesome, and private collectors of such large works may not collect them. I will contact a few Trian art museum." Chen Lian hummed, walked up to Jifa and whispered, "Please help me persuade Bai Cheng. She is now complaining that I didn't break up with Sophie Marceau." "No." After Jifa refused sternly, he glanced at Bai Cheng and wondered if he could take advantage of the situation. The iron triangle must be close and honest with each other. Chen Lian saw what Jifa was thinking and couldn't help but knock her on the head and said, "Stop trying to figure out what Bai Cheng is." "You mind me?" Jifa glared back, snorted and ran to Bai Cheng and pulled her away, leaving Chen Lian standing there alone. Chen Lian looked at their leaving figures and felt helpless. In the next few days, Bo Qing was with Jifa. Every time he saw Chen Lian, he felt bad, thinking that he would just die with a woman in his life. Sophie Marceau wrote about that kind of thing in her book, and you don't care. Chen Lian had no choice but no time to appease Bo Qing. He was too busy these days. Artists invited him to parties every day, or reporters wanted to interview him. He had almost no free time all day long. In the days after the exhibition began, Chen Lian's name appeared frequently in newspapers and magazines. Whenever newspapers reported on the Venice Art Exhibition, Chen Lian's name would be mentioned. Chen Lian is now truly one of the most famous artists in the world. The only thing he still lacks is the fermentation of time. That morning, as soon as Chen Lian finished an interview with a British art magazine, the domestic media came over. Along with the reporters were people from the Ministry of Culture. "Teacher Chen, long time no see." The reporter from the art magazine looked at Chen Lian and said politely. Chen Lian also smiled and said, "The last time we met was in the studio last year. It's indeed been a long time since we last met." The man standing next to the reporter looked at Chen Lian and said proactively, "Hello, Teacher Chen, I am Zhang Mingli from the art department of the Ministry of Culture." "Hello, you're so polite." Chen Lian didn't know his position, so he asked curiously, "I wonder what you want to see me for this time." "Teacher Chen, you have made a lot of money for us this time." Zhang Mingli looked at Chen Lian and said, "The ministry hopes that Teacher Chen can promote our culture as much as before. In addition to modern art, we also have many traditional arts." Chen Lian guessed this, looked at Zhang Mingli and said, "Of course, this is what I should do. I have talked about these issues with Director Wang before, and I have thought about promoting traditional culture. When I return to China this time, I will want to meet and talk with Minister Wang." "Haha, that's good. No wonder Director Wang keeps saying that Teacher Chen is a role model for young artists." After Zhang Mingli praised a few more words, he turned to look at the reporter from the art magazine next to him and said, "Xiao Li, you have to be more serious when you interview Teacher Chen later." The reporter, who was called Xiao Li, smiled and said nothing. Zhang Mingli was from the art division of the art department and was not a big leader in the department, nor was he from the propaganda department. He couldn't control himself, so he didn't bother to pay attention to him. After Zhang Mingli left, he said to Chen Lian, "Mr. Chen, you have time in the afternoon. Until now, domestic magazines only reproduce foreign news, so you have to take care of your own people no matter what." Chen Lian immediately smiled and said, "Of course, I'm still wondering why my family doesn't want to see me and no one comes to me for interviews." Xiao Li explained apologetically, "Haha, don't be surprised. There are really too many interview tasks these days. Many foreign artists have returned home if they don't hurry up to interview people." Chen Lian laughed and understood this kind of behavior. Foreign artists should be more popular. Even if that artist's international status is not as high as Chen Lian's, the level of attention is still different. For more than an hour, Chen Lian was asked various questions, not only about art, but also many questions unrelated to art. For example, there are issues about how to promote the international image, the benefits of the Venice Art Biennale reaching tens of millions of dollars, and the issue of when the China National Pavilion can be truly established. Most of the questions had nothing to do with Chen Lian, but since Chen Lian was asked, he did not escape and answered them all. Some questions are actually very realistic, and Chen Lian's answers are also very realistic. It's like Chinese artists have participated in the Venice Art Biennale for many years in a row, but there are only Chinese representative artists, and the reason why there is no Chinese national pavilion is because of poverty, because of international status, and because a uniquely European arrogance. Art is never pure, and establishing a national pavilion is not simply building a house, nor is it something that a few or a dozen artists can change. These people in Europe are also very interesting. They want to drag Chinese artists on board to differentiate themselves from the United States, but they are reluctant to completely let go of their status. This is not only true in art, but also in film. In addition, Chen Lian also talked a lot about the fact that modern art is not supported in China. He also specifically said that some people have lost themselves by blindly following the footsteps of the West and have not developed their own modern art. After chatting a lot, Xiao Li looked at Chen Lian and said, "Mr. Chen, you said it very well. Your works contain many ethnic elements. I saw your work this time, and the things used in it not only reflect war. It's cruel, and many of the items inside also show the development history of Chinese art, from primitive murals to bronzes to porcelain, etc., which are a good representation of Oriental art." Chen Lian smiled and said, "This is what I learned from my last visit to Venice. At that time, someone told me that modern art should also be based on the nation itself." Xiao Li smiled and said, "It's getting late, so I won't disturb Teacher Chen. By the way, some of the issues discussed later will not be published, but they may be submitted." Chen Lian, I should have known better and wouldn't have said anything. It's better to log out. At least it's fair and above board. After Xiao Li finished speaking, he left, leaving Chen Lian scratching his hair with a headache. "Forget it, don't care about that. I was right at first, but now some of the affiliated art academies are outrageous. Art graduate students must meet English standards. No matter how good your major is, if you can't speak English well, you won't be accepted. What is the relationship between painting and English? Use words to draw pictures. Going forward, there will be a lot of distortion and vilification, and works of art that blindly please the West. This phenomenon is really hard to comment on. It's okay to say it now, in case there is a chance to change." After Chen Lian naively fantasized for a while, he got up and went to brag and talk about art with artists from other countries. "By the way, I would like to talk to them about the traditional Chinese arts in my works, so that they can have an idea in their minds. When Chen Lian comes again in the future, they can open up their output openly." The art space opened in Xiangjiang sells modern art, but in Europe it will definitely sell traditional art. It's quite interesting to do it the other way around. Chen Lian continued to hang out in various exhibition halls for the next 2 days, with a little tail behind him. Ito Muragi has been following Chen Lian, hoping that they will participate in the Tokyo Art Awards in August. "I hope that Chen Lian can bring the same popularity to the Tokyo Art Awards as in Venice." Chen Lian couldn't even think about it with his toes. How many years did it take for Venice to become the world's most valuable place? The Tokyo Art Awards only took a few years. However, facing such an enthusiastic Ito Muragi, Chen Lian was a little hesitant. This guy was too persistent and said that if Chen Lian went to Tokyo, he could provide high activity fees and high treatment. The most important thing is that he also hinted at Chen Lian some very interesting things. Ito Muragi looked at Chen Lian and said, Li and Jun, artists are all passionate, and Tokyo is a romantic city full of art. There are many people who love art in Tokyo who hope to see Li and Jun's works in Tokyo. They admire them very much. Artists like Li and Jun want to talk about art with you all night long. Chen Lian looked at Ito Murangi strangely. What are these words? It is sentimental, romantic, admiring, and can be talked about all night long. Is this serious art? Is this the legendary beauty trap? Chen Lian thought for a while and said to Ito Murangi, I will participate in the Sino-Japanese Cultural and Art Exchange in July. If I participate in the Tokyo Art Awards in August, I may not have as much time to create. Lian-kun. You can do what you did in Venice this time. We will prepare whatever you need. Ito Murangi looked at Chen Lian and suddenly bowed and said, Please, Lian-kun. Tokyo Art the Grand Prize needs artists like you. Chen Lian, although you are just a curator, please have some artist integrity, okay? It's both money and a honey trap. Are you using this to test artists? Which artist can withstand such a test? Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizuda Xiaomao. Chapter 313. Chapter 303-301. It's over, it's all exploded. The time of May has passed quietly in the busyness, and Venice has become hotter. In the blink of an eye, the art exhibition has started for a week, and Chen Lian has been in Venice for more than half a month. The initial enthusiasm for the art exhibition gradually subsided, and Chen Lian wanted to leave Venice. However, Jifa wanted Chen Lian to stay and go to Paris with her for a while. What are you going to do in Paris? Chen Lian asked, not very interested. Jifa looked at Chen Lian and said, You are in a very critical period now. Necessary promotion and exposure are very important. I will help you arrange it when you go to Paris. Still exposed? I've said it back and forth 800 times. Chen Lian was not interested at all. He looked at Jifa and said, You don't have to do it yourself to promote this kind of thing. You can find a few magazines and publish it. A review would be great. Jifa looked at Chen Lian's expression of reluctance, and while Bai Qing was away, he leaned over and whispered, There will be a reward if you go. Chen Lian glanced at Jifa's pretending to be charming, and said without any fluctuation, I won't go either. Don't regret it? I'll take Bai Qing away. Don't even think about apologizing. Bai Qing is not paying attention to Chen Lian now, and he doesn't know what he is angry about. In the evening, Chen Lian knocked on Bai Qing's door and shamelessly squeezed in. When Bai Qing couldn't resist Chen Lian, he turned around angrily and went in. After Chen Lian came in, he saw that Bai Qing was still unwilling to pay attention to him, and he was not in a hurry to coax him. He locked the door behind his back and took off his clothes and took a shower as if no one was around. Bai Qing looked through the glass at Chen Lian, who was flirting in the bathroom. She couldn't help but cursed, but her eyes did not shift. When Chen Lian came out of the shower, she turned her head away from him. Chen Lian hummed a song, wiped his wet hair, glanced at Bai Qing sitting on the bed, walked over and sat next to her, rested his head on her lap, put the towel in her hand and said, Help me wipe your hair. Bai Qing looked down at Chen Lian, his eyes didn't dodge at all, he just looked at himself as if nothing had happened before. In the end, Bai Qing was defeated by Chen Lian's eyes, and he helplessly picked up a towel and wiped Chen Lian's wet head, but the action was so hard that Chen Lian's hair was messed up. Although Chen Lian felt very painful, he still kept a smile on his face and looked like he was enjoying it. Bai Qing looked at him and said angrily, Is it that comfortable? Doesn't it hurt? It doesn't hurt. As long as it's you, it won't hurt. Chen Lian held Bai Qing's hand and said. Hearing Chen Lian's words, Bai Qing's eyes suddenly softened. Before he could say anything, Chen Lian hugged him, rolled him over and pinned him down. Bai Qing gasped and looked into Chen Lian's eyes, hugged his neck suddenly and kissed him. The two of them were entangled in each other, the neat sheets suddenly became messy, and the only sound left in the room was the sound of their hot breathing. After a night of infatuation, Chen Lian and Bai Qing seemed to have returned to their former self, but both of them knew that their bond with each other was deeper. The morning sun shone in from outside Sichuan. Bo Qing looked at Chen Lian holding a cup of coffee and said, "Sophie Marceau wrote your story in the book. Are you really not worried?" Chen Lian coughed and walked to the window and said, "Actually, I'm not worried about myself. I'm mainly worried that the exposure will affect her and your life." Bai Qing couldn't help but stepped on Chen Lian and said, "Who doesn't know about my relationship with you? Are you afraid of affecting me or other people?" "They all mean the same thing," Chen Lian said shamelessly. "The main reason is that I'm worried about the impact on you. You don't like the excitement, and you don't like having your life exposed. If word gets out, the domestic gossip reporters will definitely disturb you." Bo Qing took a sip of coffee and said, "It's okay. I'll just find another place to live. You should just worry about yourself." Chen Lian sighed. "This matter must not be hidden. Sooner or later it will be exposed in China, even if Sophie Marceau is not published in the mainland. Chen Lian still has time now, and it's still too early for the news to spread back to China." But Chen Lian thought of the problem a little simpler. It is indeed not that easy to read Sophie Marceau's books in China, but it is not the case in Europe. Now some media are digging gossip based on the contents of Sophie Marceau's books. This book written by Sophie Marceau is simply a big revelation in the eyes of some media. Why not dig deeper? Originally, the content about Chen Lian in the book was relatively vague. People who did not specifically investigate or are familiar with Chen Lian would not be able to connect it for a while. It's like when art observers looked up Chen Lian's information, they connected the people in the book with Chen Lian. But the problem is that Chen Lian has been so popular in Europe recently, so it is natural to connect the two. The time when Chen Lian came to Paris to hold an exhibition in 1995 coincided with the time Sophie Marceau appeared in the book, and the time and place of the trysts at the two film festivals also coincided. These reporters even investigated that Sophie Marceau had shot an advertisement for Chen Lian. With so much evidence consistent with the description in the book, these reporters directly identified Chen Lian as Sophie Marceau's willing lover. This time, the European media was completely excited. The most popular artist in the art world, the most beautiful French rose in Europe, has become a hot topic. Sophie Marceau and Chen Lian quickly appeared in various newspapers, and some even had supernatural powers, including secretly photographed intimate photos of the two. Chen Lian looked at the photos in the newspaper and truly admired the ability of these reporters. He could find photos of himself and Sophie Marceau meeting at the Cannes Film Festival last year. However, there is nothing intimate in the photo, just a scene of two people hugging each other politely. This media was pretty good. It only wrote about Chen Lian and Sophie Marceau. Some newspapers even wrote bloody stories about love triangles. Didn't Chen Lian say that his muse soulmate is his partner Bai Qing? Now there is an additional French rose lover, isn't it just a love triangle? Bai Qing put his hand on Chen Lian's shoulder and looked at the various speculations in the newspaper with him, laughing when he saw something funny. "The writing is still conservative. They underestimated you too much." "But what do you mean I am obsessed with you?" "Now it is obvious that you are obsessed with me," Bo Qing said a little indignantly. Chen Lian rolled his eyes at her. "Did you see this thing after looking at it for a long time?" However, Chen Lian has no time to discuss with Bo Qing whether these reports are conservative or bold. The news broke out in Europe and it is estimated that the news has been received in China. However, it was not yet time to get off work in China at this time, so Chen Lian had no chance to stop the news. Even if you can stop one or two families, you can't stop so many media outlets. Chen Lian closed the newspaper, looked at Bai Qing who still had some unfinished thoughts and said, "Do you like this so much? Why don't you like it? At least in this report, I am the only one who has entered your heart. Sophie Marceau is just a beautiful lover, and there is no one else, Bai Qing said appropriately. Chen Lian, if you like it so much, go and see it for yourself. After putting the newspaper into Bai Qing's hand, Chen Lian went to the balcony to make a phone call. Let's give them a heads up before the news gets out. Mainly Gong Li, Chen Miran, and Wang Zuxian. None of the other women have had scandals with Chen Lian, so it shouldn't be a big deal. The three women had different reactions when they received the call from Chen Lian. Gong Li was not as calm as Chen Lian imagined. Instead, she asked Chen Lian why he made such a mistake. What if the fact that she and Chen Lian had a child was exposed and affected the child? In the end, Gong Li directly told Chen Lian that the impact of this matter must be minimized. If the child's affairs are discovered, he must marry her. Myron Chen was no longer so angry. Instead, she calmly told Chen Lian that there was nothing to worry about. If anyone didn't have a scandal, just take the initiative to announce it. It just happened to tell the media that they were going on a trip to get married. It's just that Chen Myron's calmness seems more like happiness to Chen Lian, and she is even a little eager to take the initiative to admit her relationship with Chen Lian in front of the media. Wang Zuxian is probably the calmest and most excited one. She doesn't care at all about the scandal between herself and Chen Lian. Instead, she keeps asking Chen Lian how many others there are besides Gong Li, Chen Myron, Bai Qing and Sophie Marceau. How many more do you want in the future? The different reactions of the three women made Chen Lian realize that scandals did not seem to be worth worrying about. What he should really worry about was himself. When Chen Lian returned to the room exhausted after making the call, he looked at Bai Qing, who was reading the newspaper with her legs crossed, and felt that she was watching his own joke. I was just seeing your joke, Bai Qing told Chen Lian directly and decisively. Now you know you regret it, and you will suffer the consequences. After saying that, Bai Qing took the newspaper and left. Not long after Bai Qing left, Jifa ran in happily. Looking at Chen Lian, who was in a depressed mood, he said excitedly, "Did you know that you would be exposed? That's why you don't want to go to Paris with me for promotion." Jifa looked at Chen Lian with some excitement and said, "This trick of yours is simply great. Apart from the works of artists, this kind of thing attracts the public the most. Just like Picasso, ordinary people may not have seen Picasso's paintings. I don't understand it, but almost everyone knows that Picasso had dozens of lovers." Jifa circled excitedly around Chen Lian and couldn't help but grab his arm and said, "How many lovers do you have now?" Picasso officially admitted that he had 2 wives and 5 lovers. Do you surpass him? Chen Lian, who are you looking down on? Ba, is there anything better than this? Jifa counted on her fingers beside her and muttered. After a while, she raised her head and looked at Chen Lian and said, "You surpass Picasso as far as I know." Chen Lian coughed in embarrassment. He didn't surpass Picasso in terms of artistic achievements, but he was one step ahead in this kind of thing. It was a bit embarrassing to say it. Jifa patted Chen Lian on the shoulder and said, "That's right, keep working hard. But Picasso has been busy cheating on others all his life. According to incomplete statistics, there are hundreds of them. You have to work harder." Chen Lian looked at Jifa and couldn't help but push her out with an attitude that she didn't know whether it was ridicule or admiration. Boom. The door was closed, but Jifa's voice could not be muffled. "Come on. Pass Picasso." Jifa outside the room was excitedly thinking about how to use this opportunity to connect Chen Lian and Picasso to gain popularity with the great artist. If the marketing is good, everyone will think of Chen Lian when they think of Picasso in the future. Let's not mention the artistic matters. At the very least, we must completely open up the popularity. Moreover, passionate artists represent extremely energetic and talented artists, and Chen Lian's works will receive invisible bonuses from this in the future. Sophie did a great job, Jifa couldn't help but say. She had actually thought about using this method to promote Chen Lian before, but she gave up in the end. One is that Chen Lian is not famous enough, and the other is that he knows that Chen Lian will not accept it. But who would have thought that this trip to Venice would directly solve this problem? It's perfect. Jifa trotted back to his room and prepared to contact the media he was familiar with. You must take advantage of this good opportunity. The opportunity to soar is right in front of you. While holding a small notebook, Jifa was thinking about how many people he would take the initiative to expose this time, and whether it would be better to surpass Picasso or be on par with him. Also, which ones should be better exposed? They have to be famous. You also have to make up a story for each person, otherwise they won't be legendary. Every lover of an art master should have his or her own romantic story, which not only allows Chen Lian's scumbag attributes to be ignored, but also highlights Chen Lian's extraordinary artistic talent and personal charm, and is also linked to Chen Lian's artistic works. At the same time, it increases the legend and storytelling of each work. These are all little publicity techniques. Unbeknownst to Chen Lian, Jifa had already started writing short stories for him. The previous set of photography works in Xiangjiang should be related to Wang Zuxian. How should I write the story? Let me think about it. There is no need to make up stories about Bocheng. The painting Chen Lian painted for Bocheng is the best story. Gong Li Gong Li is the work that Chen Lian won the award in Venice last time. It can also be connected with the movie made by director Chen He. Chen Miran should just simply admire Chen Lian. I don't have any works for her. Who should I write about in the Three Waves series? There are many people I don't know. Only Chen Lian has mentioned it. Should I write about Li Dabai? I can't write about myself. It seems, it's not impossible. Jifa racked her brains to write a short story. Chen Lian was also calling Li Dabai at this time, asking her to keep an eye on Chen Miran these days and warn him directly if she did anything wrong. Li Dabai felt happy and sad at the same time. What was sad was that she was not involved in Chen Lian's scandal. What was happy was that teacher Chen was finally worried about Beauty Chen. This was an opportunity. The opportunity to rise to the top is just around the corner. Seize the opportunity to squeeze Miran out. I, Li Dabai, also want to be called Mr. Li instead of Manager Li from now on. I'm really stuck today. I only wrote so much in one day. There's still one chapter left that I'm working hard on. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 314. Chapter 304-302. The standard equipment of the strong, the popular actress quality inspector. As the old saying goes, good things don't go out, but bad things spread thousands of miles. The news that Chen Lian was well received at the Venice Art Biennale has not yet spread in China. The news that he has many lovers first spread all over the country. When it was still late at night in Venice, many domestic newspapers had already reported gossip about Chen Lian. The famous French actress Sophie Marceau admitted in her autobiography that she was the lover of the famous Chinese artist and actor Chen Lian, and revealed that Chen Lian had many lovers. Sophie Marceau was willing to be one of Chen Lian's lovers. This bitch Chen Lian slept with Sophie Marceau. Sophie Marceau volunteered to be her lover? It's fake. It must be fake. I don't believe it. Why does he have the favor of my goddess? More than a dozen lovers? Wang Zuxian, Gong Li, and Chen Miran too. I don't know how many men were scolding Chen Lian when they saw it in the newspaper. Several of the most popular female stars in the country in the 1990s were all revealed to be Chen Lian's lovers. Such news was simply shocking. Feng Xiaogang, who had just received investment from Chen Lian, couldn't help but curse when he saw the news. Damn it! How dare he! Sophie Marceau. I will definitely fight him next time I see you. Feng Xiaogang has always regarded Sophie Marceau as a goddess. Later, when he became famous, he became the director of the Spring Festival Gala and spent a lot of money to invite Sophie Marceau to attend the Spring Festival Gala just to meet his goddess. Compared with these female stars in China and Hong Kong, the most exciting news is that Sophie Marceau is willing to be Chen Lian's lover. For a moment, I didn't know whether to scold Chen Lian or to envy Chen Lian. I think most people were envious, and they were so envious that they turned purple with envy. Many people who are not star chasing think that Chen Lian is awesome. All the big French stars are willing to be their lovers to bring glory to the country. Chen Lian is awesome. They are much better than those people in China who engage in horrific performance art all day long. Those half-hearted artists should learn from it. This is what he calls an artist. Many people who know Chen Lian can't help but admire Chen Lian's waist, and at the same time they don't think it's surprising. Not all artists are like this. Is there anything strange about it? Those who can't get on stage to sing rock music still have girls chasing them to sleep. Isn't it normal for an artist like Chen Lian to have several lovers? It's just that everyone thinks so, but they can't say it. After all, the domestic moral concept has always been relatively strong. Although this kind of thing is not surprising, it still needs to be severely criticized. I can't do it without a few curse words. However, there are also many girls who are tempted at this time. Idols are so open-minded, so can they also have a taste of what it is like to be an artist? Why don't you give fans some benefits? Don't artists know how to create fans? It's fine if you don't have to be a lover for a one-night stand for no other reason than to see how an artist can make a big star like Sophie Marceau willing to be a lover. You will never believe this fake news unless you experience it for yourself. In the advertising company, Li Dabai watched the news and looked at Myron Chen's office through the open office door from time to time. After a while, seeing that there was no movement in Myron's office, he picked out a document that needed to be shown to Myron. Looking for her. Keep an eye on her. Wait for her to make a mistake. However, Li Dabai was disappointed when he came to Chen Myron's office. Chen Myron was busy dealing with the launch of Huanzu, so he had no time to care about those gossips. It wasn't the first day she knew that Chen Lian was a scumbag. There were already several of them in the company, so what was the fuss about? As for Chen Lian, she had no idea of taking the opportunity to cause trouble. Jumping out to make trouble now is something only a fool would do. It's just a pity that the trip to the United States has to be postponed. It's all Sophie Marceau's fault. After Chen Mei and director Sun of Huanzu discussed the specific details of the startup and let him go to the crew, she turned to look at Li Dabai and asked, "If you don't contact the media to suppress the matter at this time, do you still have the intention to come to me? Also, have you asked for the opinions of the association and the ministry?" Li Dabai, "I'm still too young." While Chen Myron was busy with her own affairs, she said to Li Dabai, "You should contact the media yourself. For news from the association and the ministry, you can just ask Gong Li directly. She just called me." "Okay, Mr. Chen," Li Dabai replied respectfully. He really didn't have the confidence. Is the gap so big? When Li Dabai was about to go out, Chen Myron suddenly spoke again. "Aren't the documents in your hand meant for me?" Li Dabai felt excited when he heard this. He turned around and saw Beauty Chen looking at him with a half-smile. He immediately ran over and handed it to her and said, "Mr. Chen, this is an actor that teacher Chen had spotted in a show before. Take a look. Do you want to sign it?" "I know, let's leave it." Chen Myron didn't even look at the document. She lowered her head and was busy with her own affairs, and said calmly, "You can go about your own business, and remember to knock on the door next time you come in." Li Dabai, "Teacher Chen, it's so difficult, so difficult." After Li Dabai went out, Chen Mei put down the pen in her hand and looked at the mobile phone on the table. Thinking about the purpose of Gong Li's call just now. Interesting, you were afraid that I would take advantage of the situation, so you came here to warn me. After saying something to herself, Chen Myron sat there and thought for a long time before she put her thoughts away and continued to look at the schedule for the shooting of Huanzu. At this time, the crew of Returning the Pearl is ready to start filming. The actors have been training for several days and will officially start filming soon. At this time, in the Chin summer resort, Fan Bingbing and Chen Zihan were wearing beautiful palace clothes and reading the news in the newspaper together. Fan Bingbing couldn't help but ask curiously, "Sister Zihan, does teacher Chen really have more than a dozen lovers?" "Absolutely, I only know a few," Chen Zihan replied calmly, and was a little annoyed that these reporters were such rubbish. Why didn't they write about themselves? If you can't find this bit of information, why do you think you are a reporter? Fan Bingbing was a little surprised, but he quickly calmed down. Looking at Chen Zihan's somewhat unhappy look, he asked, "Then why are you willing? Aren't you angry for so many?" Chen Zihan glanced at Fan Bingbing and said, "Why are you angry? I knew it from the beginning. If you think about it from another angle, Sophie Marceau is willing to do it. If you round up, am I equal to Sophie Marceau?" Fan Bingbing, is that how you calculate it? Seeing that Fan Bingbing didn't quite understand, Chen Zihan couldn't help but smile and said, "Although it's a joke, I am willing to do it. He is so talented and handsome, and he is also very good to me. He even gives me pocket money, it's hundreds of thousands, he bought a house, and he asked me to be the heroine. Why wouldn't I want to?" After listening to Chen Zihan's words, Fan Bingbing thought about it for a moment and it seemed that it was true, but then he thought of a question and asked blankly, "But the heroine was given to you by Mr. Chen." Chen Zihan looked at Fan Bingbing speechlessly and said, "Do you really think that Beauty Chen arranged it for me? Will you give any benefits to the woman who stole your man?" "Huh? Is that so?" Fan Bingbing said in confusion. Chen Zihan rubbed Fan Bingbing's head and said, "Little Fat Bing, you are still young and don't understand adult matters." "I'm not young, I'm 17 this year," Fan Bingbing retorted. "Yes, I will be an adult soon. Do you want to join me with my sister? We will definitely be invincible together." "Ah, join forces? Is this the joint effort I thought of?" "That's right. Not to mention Chen Zihan, who seduced Fan Bingbing. There was an explosion in the Nortel school at this time. The principal, department heads and other leaders were all sitting together smoking cigarettes and reading the news in the newspapers. Let's talk about it. The impact of this matter is not small. It also specifically mentioned that Chen Lian is a student of Nortel, which does not bring good reputation to the school. The principal took the initiative to speak, but no one responded. What's there to say about this kind of thing? There are many famous people in the school, and it's not just one or two who broke the scandal. This time is different. Chen Lian is a current student. The outside world will question our school spirit and school discipline, and our ideological and political education will be questioned. After hearing this, Li Keji didn't care very much. After this kind of thing came out, who would think of the school and pay attention to how many lovers Chen Lian has and who is Chen Lian's lover? Who would be bored and pay attention to the school? The principal is really making a fuss. However, he still mentioned that Chen Lian was his student, and took the initiative to say, "The newspaper also said it was a rumor, but it is not true. Why do you care about this? Besides, Chen Lian has also brought a lot of honors to our school. There can't be any. The good thing is." Li Keji didn't finish what he said, but everyone understood it, and the atmosphere in the conference room was not normal for a while. Li Keji glanced at them and said, "Chen Lian is still a member of the Artists Association. No one has expressed his position, and the ministry has not said anything. What should we worry about?" The principal glanced at Li Keji, was silent for a while and said, "Pay attention at any time, adjourn the meeting." Li Keji couldn't help but smile, and walked out with his teacup. But when I went downstairs, I couldn't help but scolded Chen Lian, "You damn Chen Lian, why did Chen Zihan and Zhang Qingqing suddenly get such a good role? I don't know if there are any other students in the school who are involved with Chen Lian. There are no more in the school, but many people think that they have not seen how powerful the two junior seniors are now. They are both leading female leads, and they are both leading female leads in Qianyao dramas, and male stars from Hong Kong and Taiwan. It matches. What's wrong with being a lover? You have money and resources, and you're a talented guy like Chen Lian. The most important thing is that he has many lovers. He doesn't have to wait on you carefully every day, so he shouldn't be too perfect. My good lover who doesn't come home all the time only gives me money and resources." The development of this matter is gradually different from what Chen Lian expected at the beginning. It seems that no one is criticizing, and they are all curious about who Chen Lian's hidden lovers are. The reporters are digging, and the masses are guessing. Ning Jing must be. She has acted in 2 dramas with Chen Lian. Su Qing must be the same. She is single and she also likes such rich and talented people. What's the matter? This shouldn't happen. And the second female lead in the Red River Valley, that beautiful little girl, Mr. Zhou. Young Master Zhou, I guess not. Chen Lian's lovers are all big stars. She is just a newcomer. How can she compare with Sophie Marceau and Gong Li? It seems so. This Chen Lian seems to only attack those big stars. After there were too many discussions like this, it turned into rumors, and even later became a standard for actresses to check. You said you are very popular? Have you slept with Chen Lian? Not sleeping? Then you are a red S. Chen Lian is to the entertainment industry what Yan Ying is to Fen Jiayun, they are both standard equipment for the strong. Such discussions and topics spread quickly, and even paparazzi reporters directly asked the female star how her relationship with Chen Lian was when interviewing her. The more popular the female star, the more people asked. For a while, female stars in the entertainment industry had a headache when they heard the name Chen Lian. What's going on? If I don't sleep with you, I can't be considered a popular star. You, Chen Lian, didn't come up with this inspection standard yourself, right? When such gossip spreads to Xiangjiang, it is really exciting. Many gossip magazines are saying that Chen Lian only has Wang Zuxian as his lover in Xiangjiang, which means that in Chen Lian's eyes, only Wang Zuxian is the most popular. It is a brainless and shocking conclusion, but it is also mentioned in the gossip that such a passionate person like Chen Lian only has Wang Zuxian as his lover in Hong Kong. Does he look down on other female stars? Zhou Huimin looked at the gossip news and couldn't help but curled his lips and muttered, "Who said there is only one? There are obviously 3, no, Li Li really doesn't count, there are only 2. The princess, who was playing mahjong with Zhang Guorong at this time, didn't care about the news. Anyway, she was not from Xiangjiang, so they were right. Almost no one knew about Chen Lian, Zhou Huimin, and Li Lijhen, so when Wang Zuxian saw the news, she felt a little happy. At least she was unique in Xiangjiang. Chen Lian, who was far away in Venice, didn't know how outrageous it was in China at this time, and was running away from the reporters who came to interview him. These reporters were so pervasive that they blocked the door of the hotel. Chen Lian couldn't even go to the exhibition. In front of the floor-to-ceiling window of the room, Chen Lian looked at the press car downstairs. He turned to Jifa with a headache and asked, "Is this a good thing you did?" Jifa said with some pride, "Isn't it good? Now almost everyone in Europe knows you, Mr. Picasso of the East." "Who wants to be Picasso?" Chen Lian looked at Jifa with a headache, and then said to Bai Qing, "We can't stay in Venice anymore, let's go." Bai Qing said nonchalantly, "They don't know me. I can just hide in Paris for a few days. Now you can't stop whether you go back to China or stay in Europe." Chen Lian, There is no place for oneself in the vastness of the world. If you really can't go to Japan, the Sino-Japanese Cultural Exchange Conference is about to start, and you have to participate in the Tokyo Art Awards. It's good to prepare in advance and avoid the limelight. According to the importance Ito Muragi attaches to himself, he will definitely be well protected, and the current situation of being blocked by reporters and unable to leave the house should not happen. Decided. Go to Tokyo. Everyone can vote for the monthly ticket. Although I was stuck for a day, I still broke out at night. Give me some money, please. Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizuda Xiaomao. Chapter 316. Chapter 305-303. Come to Tokyo for a hot spring bath. In the blue sky, a plane flew over Venice. Chen Lian in the first-class cabin was overlooking Venice. After he couldn't see Venice anymore, Chen Lian withdrew his gaze and put on the eye mask. The flight attendant Ito Muragi, who was sitting next to Chen Lian, was pushing the dining cart and was about to ask questions, and quickly made a silencing gesture. The flight attendant glanced at Chen Lian, who was wearing an eye patch, with some curiosity in her eyes. She wanted to see what charm this artist whose name was known throughout Europe had that could make Sophie Mar so fascinated. But Chen Lian, who was wearing an eye patch, blocked 70% of his charm. The stewardess took a quick look and didn't see anything special, so she looked away and pushed the dining car to the next passenger. The capital city, which is tens of thousands of kilometers away, is particularly uneasy at this time. The entrance of Hong an advertising company is surrounded by reporters. To be precise, they are squatting. However, they waited for a long time but failed to wait for Chen Myron to come out. Instead, they waited until Li Dabai came out. Many reporters knew Li Dabai. These reporters had previously contacted Chen Lian through Li Dabai and wanted to interview him. As soon as Li Dabai walked out, a group of reporters surrounded him and asked, "Hello Assistant Li, may I ask whether Teacher Chen has any response to recent events? Are the descriptions in Sophie Marceau's autobiography true? Is Chen Myron one of Chen Lian's lovers? How many lovers does Chen Lian have in total? Are you one of them?" Li Dabai looked at these excited reporters, but did not make any response to Chen Lian's scandal, nor did he get angry because of the questions. Her phone has been busy in the past 2 days, and she has heard all kinds of questions more than once. He just said calmly, "Dear friends from the media, please give me permission. I have to attend the opening ceremony of the Huanzi crew." Li Dabai put on his sunglasses in silence, walked directly to his car surrounded by a group of reporters, opened the door, got in, and honked the horn several times, forcing the reporters to take a few steps back before starting the car and driving away. The crew of Returning the Pearl is on. Is Myron Chen there too? Go directly there. Let's go, let's keep up. I heard it's at Prince Gong's mansion. Li Dabai, who deliberately drove very slowly, soon saw the reporter following him in the rearview mirror, with a smile on his face wearing sunglasses. Here comes the free publicity. The more exposure a TV series has during production, the easier it will be to sell it to TV stations after filming. Most of the starring actors in Huanzu are newcomers. The only famous one is Su Yupeng, who is no longer popular. If you want to sell it at a high price, you can only use it as a Qianyao drama, but the effect will not be much. Therefore, necessary marketing and hype are very necessary. It would be a pity not to take advantage of Chen Lian's current situation. As for Chen Myron, whom the reporter wants to see, is not at Prince Gong's mansion, nor does she plan to attend the opening ceremony of Returning the Pearl. She is currently dressing her son in handsome clothes at home, preparing to meet Gong Li. It's finally king versus king. For Chen Myron, her son is her biggest support. No matter how powerful you, Gong Li, are, you're just a daughter. After a while, the beautifully dressed Chen Miren set off to meet Gong Li with her fair and tender son. In the quiet and private club, Chen Miren looked at Gong Li sitting opposite, with confidence in her eyebrows. Looking at Gong Li, who was not wearing makeup, she felt that she was overwhelmed by her exquisite dress. Gong Li didn't even look at Chen Miren. She just glanced at Chen Xiu, who was babbling. Then she picked up her daughter and came to him. She said to her, "This is my younger brother. My younger brother. This is my sister. Do you know that I will call you sister from now on?" Gong Li's last words were spoken while looking at Chen Miren. Chen Miren couldn't help but snorted, took off her sunglasses and said, "What's wrong with a sister? Wei Xiu doesn't have a sister. Xiu is the only child of the old Chen family. Meow, I will inherit the incense in the future." Gong Li sneered in her heart, hugged her daughter and played with her, completely ignoring Chen Miren. Looking at Gong Li, who didn't take her seriously at all, Chen Miren snorted, looked at her and said, "Why are you looking for me? I don't have time to waste time with you here. Don't you know why I'm looking for you? We haven't seen each other for a long time. We just want to chat today. Does Lian know you came to see me? You want him to know?" Chen Miren looked at Gong Li's free and easy temperament, and suddenly saw in her a feeling of a mother's respect for the world. Although she doesn't wear makeup, her calm and elegant posture and confident and noble temperament make people unconsciously feel lowered. Chen Miren straightened her body slightly and raised her chin. She must not be outdone. At this time, Chen Lian, who was on the plane, had a vague dream, as if he dreamed that a little eunuch rushed over in a hurry to report that the concubine and the ladies were fighting. "Lian Jun, Lian Jun. Huh? Who is calling me by my name?" Chen Lian opened his blindfold in confusion, still talking in his sleep. "Ito Muriji, is this a dream? Dreamed of becoming emperor?" Chen Lian looked at the confused Ito Muriji, and then he woke up and realized that he had just been dreaming. He looked at Ito Muriji with some embarrassment and said, "Sorry, I just had a dream." It's okay," Ito Muriji said with a smile, "Luan Kun, we are arriving soon, so you can get ready." Chen Lian glanced out the window subconsciously, sat up, and said, "Okay, I didn't expect it to be here so soon." Looking at the scenery outside the window, Chen Lian said with emotion, "It's pretty beautiful overlooking Tokyo." Ito Muriji said with a smile, "The scenery in Tokyo never disappoints, but if you come in winter or spring, the scenery here will be even more beautiful." Chen Lian nodded and said, "This time I want to take a good look at the scenery of Japan." Haha, I hope the scenery of Japan can inspire Lian Jun to create a great work of art. I hope so. Chen Lian just came here for a vacation. Who has nothing to do to create, why not look at the beautiful scenery and the beauties? Soon the plane landed in Tokyo, and Chen Lian felt the enthusiasm of Tokyo as soon as he got off the plane. Tokyo is hot. The weather in June is hotter than Venice. Ito Muriji is very much looking forward to Chen Lian showing different works at this art exhibition, and even hopes to surpass Chen Lian's works in Venice. However, Chen Lian really has no desire to create now. He has a lot of small inspirations in his mind, but he still has a little chance to turn his inspirations into works of art. After coming out of the airport, Itamura II arranged a special car pickup and a specially arranged courtyard residence. The landscape of the courtyard is very good, and the minimalist style makes it feel like one with nature. When Chen Lian looked at the courtyard, he doubted whether Ito Muriji had any plot against him. The salary was a bit too high. Ito Muriji introduced the landscape inside to Chen Lian in the yard, talking about the style and concepts of Japanese architectural art. Listening to Ito Muriji's introduction, Chen Lian had a different feeling. China's architectural art has different emphasis on different places. In particular, the design concept of modern architecture has long been different from the past. It does not maintain its own tradition like Japan. In this regard, Japan is actually doing much better than China. In terms of traditional art, they have also preserved it well and integrated it well with modern civilization. Some traditional cultures in China are almost abandoned by the times. In the future, Japanese culture will be popular all over the world and spread through various means. To put it harshly, it may even be a cultural invasion. The country has always been the one being invaded. The cultural invasion of the West, as well as the cultural invasion of Japan and South Korea, has almost been beaten to a sieve. In terms of cultural development and protection, China is indeed not doing well, but this is also the reason why Chinese people are overconfident in the 5,000 years of Chinese culture. To be too confident is to be arrogant, and let others steal so much for nothing. After Chen Lian heard what Ito Muragi said, an idea suddenly came to his mind: how about we come and give Japan a hard blow? Ito Muragi wants to create a work by himself, so give him a big one. One that they can see every day when they go out, and as soon as they see it, they can remember that this is art from a Chinese artist. The only thing that can meet such conditions is public art. Chen Lian looked at Ito Muragi, who was still talking, interrupted him and said, "Ito-san, after listening to your introduction, I have a good inspiration." "Really? Can you tell me what it is?" Ito Muragi immediately asked excitedly. Chen Lian frowned and said, "It's not fully formed yet. I need to walk around Tokyo and take a look. It would be best if someone familiar with Tokyo can introduce it to me. I wonder if Ito-san has time." Ito Muragi hesitated for a moment and said, "I don't have that much time. I still need to prepare for the art awards, and I also need to communicate with the exhibition hall and the artists." Chen Lian was not surprised. He looked at him and said, "Then please Ito-san, please arrange a guide for me." "Okay, no problem. Lian-kun will rest tonight, and a guide will be arranged tomorrow." Ito Muragi agreed immediately. Chen Lian nodded, looked at Ito Muragi and asked another very crucial question. "How much funding can be provided to host this event? How much does Lianjun need?" "I don't know how much is needed now, but this time the work may be public art, so it will be a bit troublesome." Ito Muragi was stunned for a moment, and then he realized that public art is great, but Chen Lian couldn't take it with him after he finished creating it. He could only keep it in Tokyo. Ito Muragi immediately said happily, "No problem. If you need anything, Lian-kun, you can tell us and we will help you communicate and coordinate." "That's troublesome," Chen Lian said with a smile. "If public art is done well, it will become a unique business card, just like the sculpture in front of the United Nations building, a knotted pistol. This work appears in textbooks in many countries around the world. It is a business card belonging to the United Nations." After Ito Muragi left that night, Chen Lian did not start thinking about it immediately, but made a phone call to China. Now he needs to know the situation in the country at all times, and he also needs someone by his side. "Dabai, nothing happened in the country in the past 2 days, right? Has the heat of that matter subsided?" "No, Mr. Chen, you have underestimated the impact of this matter. Almost everyone across the country is guessing who your lover is. All the female stars who have worked with you are being chased by reporters and asking questions." Li Dabai rubbed his temples, took the phone and continued, "Teacher Chen, you are right not to return to China. If you come back, you will probably be swamped by reporters." Chen Lian coughed awkwardly and said speechlessly, "Why are they so boring? What's there to say about this kind of thing? Is everyone just out of curiosity? No one criticizes me and wants to ban me or something like that. How could it not be, but there hasn't been much movement. After all, you are not married, and there is no clear evidence. At most, it is said that as a public figure, your behavior is inappropriate, but few people care. There are many inappropriate behaviors in this society now. Go." After Li Dabai finished speaking, he couldn't help but laugh and said jokingly, "Teacher Chen, Many people say that they want to fight you to the death. Many people also say that you have brought glory to the country and hook up with more foreign female stars next time. Chen Lian, these people have nothing to do. But now I can indeed bring glory to the country in Tokyo. How about putting a red flag at Tokyo Tower? Will he be beaten to death? Chen Lian and Li Dabai chatted for a while and then asked, how is Lu Tao's performance recently? You can ask her to come to Tokyo tomorrow. It will be inconvenient if there is no one around to help her. She's doing pretty well, but she doesn't have a visa, so she won't be able to get through for a while. Li Dabai thought for a moment and said, how about I go? Forget it, you should stay in the company and do your work. I'll ask someone else to come. Who are you going to let go? Your good sisters and sisters are all being watched. Then find someone outside the circle. Chen Lian thought for a moment and asked, Lu Xiaoli, you go there tomorrow and say I'll invite her to Tokyo for a trip to the hot springs. Li Dabai thought about it and it worked. Lu Xiaoli was a little transparent. No one knew what her relationship was with Chen Lian, not even Chen Myron. But there was a bit of resentment in my heart, and she said coquettishly, last year you said you would take me to Japan for a hot spring bath, but now you want to take someone else to a hot spring bath first. Chen Lian coughed and said, you are not suitable for hot springs. Next time I will take you to see the sea or the grassland. Lu Xiaoli is suitable, right? Li Dabai replied speechlessly. Chen Lian laughed and coaxed a few words, but Lu Xiaoli was indeed suitable for hot springs. She would definitely look like a hot spring heroine in a kimono. The beautiful hot spring proprietress, just think about it, she is very suitable. After the two chatted for a few more words, Li Dabai hung up the phone and called Lu Xiaoli. Lu Xiaoli was practicing dance at this time, and the person who answered the phone was Sissy, who had just finished her homework and was watching TV. Hey, Sister Dabai, you haven't come to see me for a long time. Sissy's soft and cute voice sounded, and Li Dabai also said in a gentle tone, Sissy, are you going on vacation soon? The holiday is in 2 weeks. Sister Dabai, do you want to come and play with me? Sister Dabai doesn't have time, but your Uncle Chen has time. Does Sissy want to go to Japan? Yes. I miss Uncle Chen. When will he come and take me to play? It's okay tomorrow. Can you go to Japan with your mother to find Uncle Chen? Good. After a while, after Sissy hung up the phone, she ran to the dance room and shouted happily, Mom, Uncle Chen said he would take us to Japan. Lu Xiaoli, who was doing a straight line, pulled back her legs and looked at Sissy and asked, did Uncle Chen call you? Lu Xiaoli is a little confused now. Is Chen Lian still in the mood to travel to Tokyo at this time? Is it because those good lovers discovered each other's existence and ignored him? Little enemies, now you know you are still your sister. Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 317. Chapter 306-304. At least you are willing to lie to me. In the courtyard late at night, Chen Lian stepped on the cobblestones with his bare feet, looking at the dark sky, thinking about a very serious question. What are you thinking about? You are so absorbed in it, Yasuko Tomita didn't know when she arrived. Wearing a kimono, she walked up to Chen Lian and followed his gaze to the sky curiously. Chen Lian looked up at the night sky and said, when you look up at the sky, what is the first thing you see? The moon. Yasuko Tomita looked at Chen Lian strangely and said. So if you stand on Tokyo Tower, what is the first thing you see when you look at Tokyo? Yasuko Tomita thought for a while and said, Mount Fuji or the Rainbow Bridge. Rainbow Bridge. Chen Lian thought for a while and decided to go see the Rainbow Bridge tomorrow. Chen Lian turned to look at Tomita Yasuko and asked, have you made many announcements recently? I need a guide. A lot. Yasuko Tomita looked at Chen Lian and said, do you want to travel? Chen Lian shook his head and said, I want to travel around Tokyo for creative purposes. If you don't have time, forget it. I'd better ask Ito Murangi to help me arrange it. Yasuko Tomita felt a little sorry for Chen Lian. She finally came to Japan and didn't have time to accompany him, so she said gently, although I can't accompany you tomorrow, we have a whole night tonight. Under the quiet night sky, the outdoor soup pool in the courtyard slowly steamed up. This kind of open-air hot spring is quite new to Chen Lian. There are very few open-air hot springs like this in China. It really has a unique flavor and makes people linger. Early the next morning, Chen Lian was gently woken up by Yasuko Tomita. At this time, Yasuko Tomita, who had changed into modern clothes, was less charming than last night, but also more beautiful. Chen Lian looked at Yasuko Tomita, who was already dressed up, and asked, "Are you going to work?" "Yes, there is an event this morning, and I have to rush to Yokohama in the afternoon." Yasuko Tomita gently helped Chen Lian put on his yukata. After Chen Lian washed up under the care of Yasuko Tomita, he had breakfast with her and then sent her away. Although Tomita Yasuko only stayed with Chen Lian for one night, he quite liked this feeling. Japanese women do take care of others and are so gentle and considerate. When Yasuko Tomita went out and got in the car to leave, Ito Murangi happened to see him. He turned around and glanced at the guide he had found behind him, feeling a little inappropriate. This passionate artist seems to like all artists. If he wants an artist to burst out with passion, he must have a lot of love. He must find another guide. Mr. Ito, seeing his employer stunned, the international student from China reminded him, "It's almost 9 o'clock now." Ito Murangi glanced at the equally beautiful guide and said, "Ms. Zaime, the guide matter may not be able to continue for the time being. I will still settle the fees with you normally today. Thank you for your hard work." After Ito Villager dismissed the guide he had hired earlier, he went to see Chen Lian alone and told him that the guide was temporarily unavailable and would not come until the afternoon. I also chatted with Chen Lian about Japanese movies and songs for a while, and accidentally found out who Chen Lian's favorite Japanese actress was. Without thinking much, Chen Lian talked about a lot of showa goddesses, and finally looked at Ito Murangi and said, "When I came to Tokyo last time, I met a female host, Fujiwara Norika, and I heard that she filmed the Three Cat Eye Sisters." Ito Murangi was not very familiar with Fujiwara Norika. He only knew that she had won Miss Japan a few years ago. He looked at Chen Lian and said with a smile, "I didn't expect Lian to know so many Japanese artists. What do you think of Japanese female artists and how does it compare to China?" Chen Lian raised his eyebrows and said, "It's good to be different." Ito Murangi showed a smile, chatted with Chen Lian for a few words and then left. Fujiwara Norika. Lian-kun mentioned it specifically. She must be very fond of her. Ito Murangi thought for a while at the entrance of the courtyard before driving away. Ito Murangi decided to find the big guys behind it to make arrangements. In fact, there were not many people in Tokyo who admired and collected modern art. The development of modern art in Japan has not been very good, and the public is generally not interested in local modern artists, and they are more respectful of Western modern artists and artworks. This can be seen from the Japanese art trading market. The secondary market has been very weak, and only the primary market is very hot. However, there is a group of people in Tokyo's upper class who like modern art very much, and the government also specifically supports the development of modern art, and has also helped promote the establishment of many art museums for this purpose. Many art museums in Japan also have works by artists such as Van Gogh, Monet, Gauguin, and Picasso, which were bought by these people. This group of people highly admires Western painting and modern art, otherwise they would not have founded so many art festivals later. After Japan's economy improved slightly after the millennium, many international art festivals were established one after another, and they vigorously promoted Japan's development in the field of modern art. The Land Art Festival, Tokyo Art Fair, Setuki International Art Festival, Ibaraki International Art Festival, etc. are all driven by these people, and more than a dozen art museums have also been established one after another. In fact, they have been working hard since the 1990s, but a financial crisis slowed down the pace for several years. Chen Lian feels that he is quite lucky. He is able to receive the current treatment entirely because the financial crisis has not yet come. Otherwise, he may not have such good treatment. How many days can I enjoy it? Chen Lian lay on the tatami with his legs crossed, waiting for Ito Murakuji to send a guide over. There is not much time left to harvest wool, so seize the time and enjoy a few days. After a while, Chen Lian may have to harvest the wool of these people in the financial market. It's quite embarrassing when I think about it. In the afternoon, Chen Lian waited for the guide sent by Ito Murakuji, Norika Fujiwara, who had just finished filming the Maoan Three Sisters. Chen Lian was not surprised at all by this. It was not like he didn't know Ito Murakuji's thoughts, so there was nothing to be surprised about. Who made Chen Lian now a world-renowned passionate artist? Ito Murakuji also likes him, and hopes that through Chen Lian, Tokyo's modern art can be promoted to the international stage. Fujiwara Norika looked at Chen Lian, with a trace of hostility and wariness hidden in her eyes. Chen Lian looked at Norika Fujiwara, smiled, stretched out her hand and said, "Hello, Miss Fujiwara, we meet again." "Hello Fujiwara." Norika glanced at Ito Murakuji subconsciously, and then quickly shook hands with Chen Lian. Ito Murakuji smiled on the side and said, "Lie-san, Miss Fujiwara Norika is very familiar with Tokyo, and she will be your guide from now on." After speaking, Ito Murakuji looked at Norika Fujiwara and said, "I hope Ms. Fujiwara will remember what I said and lead Lie-san to see the beautiful scenery of Tokyo." Chen Lian listened to Ito Murakuji's slightly warning words and wondered what this guy and Fujiwara Norika had said. Is it the unspoken rules of the entertainment industry? I haven't experienced it yet, so I'm a little curious about how these shameless guys threaten. After Ito Murakuji excused himself and left, he turned to look at the nervous Fujiwara Norika and said, "Miss Fujiwara, don't be nervous." Fujiwara Norika looked at Chen Lian with a polite smile, but she was actually extremely nervous. She was suddenly notified to come over as a guide just after finishing the filming. This was too strange. Why do you want her to be your guide? Can this guide be simple? Coupled with the hints from Ito Murakuji on the way here, Fujiwara Norika already understood what her mission was. This guide not only wants to accompany Chen Lian everywhere, but also eats, plays, and sleeps with him. Norika Fujiwara suspected that he had fallen in love with her when he came to Tokyo last year. Looking at the gentle and handsome Chen Lian, she didn't know whether to be happy or sad. Being remembered by Chen Lian for so long showed that he never forgot her, but through this hidden rule method, she felt that she was not respected. Why can't we be like Tomita Yasuko senpai? If that's the case, I must be very happy and happy. Don't think so much. I'm not the kind of person you think. In fact, Chen Lian felt a little less confident as he spoke. The whole world probably knew about his bad things. Does anyone believe this? He raised his head and glanced at Fujiwara Norika, and sure enough he caught a look of disbelief in her eyes. Chen Lian sighed, he couldn't get away with it. If he really wanted to hint that Ito Murakuji was playing some hidden rules, he wouldn't have let Lu Xiaoli come. Being sentimental does not mean being a scumbag. Chen Lian would not do anything unwritten. I don't know when Lu Xiaoli will be able to arrive in Tokyo today. I miss her a bit. Chen Lian didn't explain that much, and just said to Fujiwara Norika, I will be troublesome for Miss Fujiwara in the next few days. Please take me around Tokyo. Fujiwara Norika nodded lightly. Even if you come and there is no chance to refuse, then be a good guide. Lian-kun, where do you want to go in Tokyo? Chen Lian looked at her and said, I don't know either. Please take me to the most famous place in Tokyo. How is Mount Fuji? It's climbing season now. Fujiwara Norika took the initiative to ask. Chen Lian shook his head and said, I just want to see the buildings here in downtown Tokyo. Norika Fujiwara asked curiously, why? Mount Fuji is the most famous scenic spot in Japan. I'm not here for sightseeing. Chen Lian looked at Norika Fujiwara and said, I want to create a public art in Tokyo. If I want to travel to Mount Fuji, I will definitely invite Ms. Fujiwara in person, instead of not inviting Ms. Fujiwara on both sides. When I knew it, I was misunderstood by Mr. Ito and asked him to forcefully bring you here. Misunderstanding. Norika Fujiwara looked at Chen Lian in confusion, not understanding what he meant for a while. Didn't you ask me to come here? If this is the case, then was my idea just now a bit pretentious? Fujiwara Norika's face turned a little red. Chen Lian nodded and then shook his head and said, Mr. Ito asked me which Japanese artists I liked, so I mentioned your name. I didn't expect that he found you, so I guess it was me who found you. I'm sorry if I misunderstood you. You can leave at any time. I will explain to Mr. Ito. Favorite Japanese artist? But I've only made one movie so far and it hasn't been released yet. You obviously have a crush on me. The guy with thick eyebrows and big eyes really knows how to pretend. Although she disagreed with Chen Lian's statement, Fujiwara Norika was still very happy. At least Chen Lian had never forgotten him after seeing him several times last year. And according to him, Ito Muragi made his own decision, so he didn't force himself. It seems that he still respects himself. No wonder even Sophie Marceau is willing to be his lover, and she is one of them. Chen Lian looked at Norika Fujiwara, who was suddenly shy, and couldn't help but twitch the corner of his mouth. I feel sorry for Ito-san. Let's take the blame for the time being. Fujiwara Norika looked at Chen Lian's apologetic look, and the original resentment in her heart dissipated a lot. A smile appeared on her face and she said, I am not forced, I am willing to be your guide. Let's set off now. Fujiwara Norika seemed to have opened up her heart. She took the initiative to walk to Chen Lian and took his arm and said, let's go to Tokyo Tower as our first stop. Chen Lian lowered his head and glanced at Norika Fujiwara, seeing a hint of helplessness and a forced smile in her eyes. Chen Lian sighed inwardly and looked at her and said, okay, I will follow your arrangements today. I can go wherever you say. Huh? Do you all listen to me? That's right, you can go wherever you want, and you can go wherever you want. Fujiwara Norika held Chen Lian's arm and said, then go to Mount Fuji. After speaking, Norika Fujiwara looked at Chen Lian with a wicked smile, as if waiting for him to repent. But Fujiwara Norika didn't expect that. Chen Lian said seriously, no problem, do you need to change to hiking shoes? I don't have hiking equipment, so I have to buy a set. Do you have any recommendations? Do you really agree? Norika Fujiwara looked at Chen Lian in surprise. Chen Lian said gently and seriously, of course, even if Mr. Ito apologizes for asking you to be the guide, everything today will be your decision. No one will say no, and no one will force you. Fujiwara Norika was silent for a while under Chen Lian's gaze, then suddenly hugged him and pressed against his chest and said, I am willing, this time it is true, even if you lied to me. At least you are willing to lie to me, Fujiwara Norika said silently in her heart. 2 chapters first, lest you get impatient. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizuda Xiaomao. Chapter 318. Chapter 307 305. Art is art, there is absolutely no other idea. June is the rainy season in Tokyo, so hiking is obviously not a good choice. Norika Fujiwara would not really take Chen Lian to climb mountains. She knew her position. No matter how nice Chen Lian said, She was only telling it to herself. If a man can take what he says to a woman seriously, is he still a man? That's a saint. Since Chen Lian needs a tour guide for his artistic creation, Norika Fujiwara will naturally take him around famous landmarks in Tokyo. Below the Tokyo Tower, Chen Lian looked up at the not-so-high Tokyo Tower. After looking at it for a while, he gave up the plan of planting a flag on it. I am here to exchange culture, not to occupy Tokyo. However, Tokyo Tower is really not suitable for me to create here, no matter how I look at it. If I am into the art of explosion like Cai Kuakiang, I can explode here. Chen Lian looked around carefully, and finally turned to look at Norika Fujiwara and said, "Let's find another place, this is not suitable." "Why don't you go to the aquarium?" Fujiwara Norika urged with some excitement. "Is there an aquarium here?" Chen Lian asked curiously. Norika Fujiwara hugged Chen Lian's arm and said, "The world's first ornamental fish aquarium, it's very beautiful inside." Chen Lian looked at Fujiwara Norika's expectant eyes, nodded and said, "Then let's go and have a look." This was Chen Lian's first time to a place like an aquarium. After entering, he was as curious as Fujiwara Norika. He couldn't help but tease the fish through the glass while watching the ornamental fish swimming around. Norika Fujiwara watched for a long time, then suddenly sighed and said, "Actually, artists are just like these ornamental fish. Every time I see them, it's like seeing myself, so I agreed to Mr. Ito." Chen Lian turned to look at her, wondering what her purpose was. Was she trying to help her through herself? But this is not surprising. He can indeed influence Ito Muragi to a certain extent. After all, he is still a hot potato now. Then what kind of fish do you want to be? A free fish in the sea? Fujiwara Norika shook her head and said, "The sea is more dangerous. I still want to be an ornamental fish, the most beautiful ornamental fish." "You are already the most beautiful one." Chen Lian held her hand and said softly. Fujiwara Norika looked at Chen Lian with sad eyes and said, "But the most beautiful one can also be the most dangerous one. What if it's not you this time?" Chen Lian let go of Norika Fujiwara's hand, knocked on the glass of the ornamental fish, and threw some breadcrumbs into the fish tank to attract a group of small fish. Chen Lian took the fishing net and fished out the most beautiful one, then turned to look at Fujiwara Norika and said, "Is it dangerous? But you have a choice, right? I can't catch those fish that haven't come over, unless I jump in, but it's not worth it." Chen Lian turned the fish around and put it into the small fish tank next to him. He smiled and said to Norika Fujiwara, who was in a daze, "I bought this fish and it will not be in danger again in the future." Norika Fujiwara seemed to understand. She took a deep look at Chen Lian and then asked, "But do you have a fish tank?" "There are no fish tanks available for purchase, and I still have a fish pond." Chen Lian took the small fish tank and looked at Fujiwara Norika and said, let's go to the next stop." Fujiwara Norika looked at the fish tank in Chen Lian's hand, at the small fish swimming happily that day, and then turned to look at the big fish tank behind her. Looking at the groups of fish, she suddenly felt a little uncomfortable. Big fish tank or small fish tank? To be a person's ornamental fish or to be the starfish in the aquarium? Fujiwara Norika looked at Chen Lian's tall back and felt a little uncertain. There were many fish tanks in his house, and he was not the only fish. Fujiwara Norika couldn't figure it out for a moment, but he still chased after him quickly. No matter what kind of fish he would do in the future, he was his only ornamental fish these days anyway, and he could do whatever he wanted. If you feel good these days, it would be nice to be his only fish in the future. Fujiwara Norika, who was catching up, hugged Chen Lian's arm and said, "Let's go to the Rainbow Bridge. The lights on the Rainbow Bridge in the evening are very beautiful." Chen Lian and Fujiwara Norika looked at the Rainbow Bridge filled with lights. The evening breeze blew gently with thick water vapor. Fujiwara Norika looked at Chen Lian and said, "It's been a long time since I felt so relaxed." Chen Lian didn't reply. He squatted down and fished out the small fish from the fish tank, then turned to look at her and said, "Do you want me to take it home and raise it, or should I let it go free?" "Take it home." "Didn't you say you wanted to take it home?" Fujiwara Norika looked at the blue bay and the small fish flapping in Chen Lian's hands, feeling that if they were released, the small fish would definitely be eaten. Of. Chen Lian said, "Oh," put the fish back into the fish tank, looked at her and said, "This is what you said, then you will be responsible for raising it in the future." Chen Lian handed the fish tank to Fujiwara Norika and waited for her to take it. The small fish tank seemed to weigh 1,000 pounds. Fujiwara Norika looked at the blue bay and struggled for a long time before picking it up. The moment the fish tank was taken into possession, all the entanglements and pressure seemed to disappear instantly. The small fish tank is very light in the hand and does not feel heavy at all. "Is the moonlight beautiful tonight?" Chen Lian asked, looking at the moon that had just risen. Fujiwara Norika was stunned for a moment, looked at Chen Lian's profile for a while and then softly replied, "It's beautiful." "Then let's go." Chen Lian took Fujiwara Norika's hand and walked toward the other end of the rainbow bridge. The faint moonlight in the sky gently shines on the two of them, blending into the colorful lights. Although Chen Lian was with Norika Fujiwara, he had been conceiving his own work in his mind. Looking at the Rainbow Bridge and the Tokyo Tower he had seen before, his mind suddenly overturned all his previous inspirations. "Maybe my next work can be called Tokyo Has Fallen. Of course, it won't be the real Tokyo Has Fallen, but it will use installations, graffiti, and sculptures to leave enough traces in the city of Tokyo. Painting a rising mushroom cloud on a huge wall, installing a symbolic explosive device in the middle of a crossroads in Ginza, arranging sound installations around Tokyo Tower to simulate the sound of Tokyo Tower collapsing, and adding additional cables to the Rainbow Bridge to make it breaking and falling instantly." More and more crazy ideas emerged in Chen Lian's mind, and he even thought about whether everyone would think of the series of works when the financial crisis came. Tokyo really fell at that time. As for whether he can complete the series of works or whether the Tokyo government will approve it, Chen Lian doesn't care at all. If not, he will do it secretly. Anyway, he will definitely bring about the fall of Tokyo. How exciting! After listening to Chen Lian's description, Norika Fujiwara, who was standing next to her, subconsciously asked, "But what is the significance of this work?" "Anti-war. Love peace," Chen Lian said directly. Fujiwara Norika frowned and thought for a while, feeling that there seemed to be this meaning, then nodded and said, "That's true, but would it be too dangerous to do the set of works in your capacity?" Chen Lian said nonchalantly, "Isn't it okay if I do it secretly? No one knows about it, unless you want to report me." Fujiwara Norika, "Why should I report you? Have you ever seen Xiao report his master? Xiao can only open his mouth and spit bubbles. If he was really reported, Chen Lian wouldn't care. The most he could do would be a fine, and he might even be able to enter the family tree. However, it seems that Chen Lian's current achievements are simple to enter into the family tree. Chen Lian has to make this work no matter what. Plan carefully in the next few days. First, communicate with Ito Muragi to see if he is willing to support you. The theme of Tokyo Has Fallen may be sensitive or insensitive. It all depends on how you interpret it. If Ito Muragi is willing to support him, then everything will be much easier to handle. After you finish your creation, and then use the media to promote it, there will definitely be no problems. How can art involve other problems? We just create art, we have absolutely no other ideas. But now the difficulty lies in the first step. I hope Ito Muragi can understand his pursuit of art." At around 10 o'clock in the evening, the excited Chen Lian drank a lot of wine. When he came out of the izakaya, the two of them looked at each other in a tacit understanding and took a taxi without saying where they were going. Fujiwara Norika in the car was holding the small fish tank in her hand. It was not until she returned to the courtyard where Chen Lian lived that the fish tank was placed on the tatami table. The two of them turned to look at each other, and their breathing seemed to become rapid. The atmosphere in the room was particularly charming, and the moist water vapor seemed to be evaporating. Norika Fujiwara recalled the last time she and Chen Lian accidentally bumped into each other in a hotel. Looking at Chen Lian's body and thinking of his sexy figure, she couldn't help but move her throat. Not to mention anything else, Norika Fujiwara was very attracted to Chen Lian's appearance and figure. Dingling bell. A burst of cell phone ringing suddenly broke the atmosphere. Fujiwara Norika came back to her senses and looked at Chen Lian, picked up the fish tank and said, "I'll change the water for it." Chen Lian glanced at the number on his phone and said, "Okay, I'll answer the call." Fujiwara Norika ran away quickly holding the fish tank. Chen Lian pressed the connect button and heard Sissy's voice from the other side before he could speak. "Uncle Chen. Did you miss me?" Chen Lian, who was not in a very beautiful mood at first, felt soft when he heard Sissy's voice. He smiled and said, "I think, Uncle is waiting for Sissy to come." "Why hasn't Sissy come yet?" "I miss you too." Sissy held the phone, sat on the sofa and swayed her short legs and said, "We'll leave tomorrow. Mom said we'll be there at noon tomorrow." Chen Lian smiled and said to Sissy, "Is Mom here? Let Mom answer the phone." "Here, wait a minute." Sissy looked at Luziali who was sitting next to her and had stretched out her hand. She couldn't help but make a face and said, "Mom, you are so anxious." Luziali couldn't help but pat Sissy on the head, then took the phone and got up and walked towards the bedroom. Seeing her mother avoid her while on the phone, Sissy couldn't help but snorted, "Stingy, Uncle Chen and I would take my mother to listen to the phone calls, but my mother wouldn't take me to listen. Just know how to whisper. After I go to Japan, I will pester Uncle Chen every day, and I will not give my mother a chance to abandon me." In the bedroom, Luziali took the phone and talked to Chen Lian about tomorrow's flight and asked him if he would pick her up. "Of course I will go. I'll wait for you at the exit tomorrow." After Chen Lian finished speaking, he chatted with Luziali for a few words and hung up the phone. Fujiwara Norika, who had been outside the house, saw Chen Lian coming in after making a phone call. She looked at Chen Lian and stuck out her tongue in embarrassment and said, "Do you want to continue?" Chen Lian watched Fujiwara Norika throw away the phone, pulled her into his arms, looked down at her and kissed her. Fujiwara Norika closed her eyes and fell into Chen Lian's arms, wrapping her arms around his neck and responding affectionately. One advantage of Japanese-style architecture is that it is extremely spacious, and the entire room can be rolled around at will. The minimalist-style decoration has become a battlefield for two people. In the night sky outside the house, the bright and round moon was covered by two black clouds, as if the moon was being rounded and flattened. After an unknown amount of time, the movement in the room calmed down. After a while, two figures walked out of it and walked towards the soup pool in the courtyard under the moonlight. Fujiwara Norika sat by the pool and washed her calves. The greasy feeling was very uncomfortable, but the warm feeling of the hot spring reminded her of the warmth on her legs just now. The hot spring water was reflected in her beautiful eyes. The light is like overflowing water. Fujiwara Norika stood up and walked down from the hot spring pool. The place where she just sat was wet, and the light water stains looked greasy. The moon hung high in the night sky. After a while, it shyly hid, as if it had seen something that made people blush. In the blink of an eye, the next day came. Fujiwara Norika woke up in a daze, feeling that her body was numb from sleep. When she lowered her head, she realized that she still had a rope tied to her leg. Norika Fujiwara turned her head and glanced at Chen Lian who was still sleeping, carefully untied the rope on her legs, then picked up her pajamas and ran out. There was no need to be a guide today, so she could go about her own business. After Fujiwara Norika got dressed, she glanced at Chen Lian who was still resting, blew an invisible kiss and left. I didn't forget to feed the ornamental fish food before I left. I had eaten enough last night, so I couldn't starve it. When it was 3 o'clock in the morning, Chen Lian got up and noticed that Noriko Fujiwara had left. He simply packed up and took a car to pick up people at the airport. I haven't danced with Lu Xiaoli for a long time. I can stretch my muscles today, but I don't know if Lu Xiaoli can dance in a kimono. The dance of Japanese geishas is actually pretty good, and you can let Lu Xiaoli learn it. Chen Lian waited at the airport pickup gate for more than 10 minutes before Lu Xiaoli showed up holding Qian's hand. Qian saw Chen Lian from afar, shouted for Uncle Chen, and swooped over. Chen Lian bent down and hugged Sissy, who flew over, picked her up and said with a smile, "Sissy has grown taller." Sissy stretched out her little hand to gesture, then put her arms around Chen Lian's neck and said, "Uncle Chen, you haven't seen me for a long time." Chen Lian smiled and said, "Uncle is too busy, I will definitely visit you next time." Lu Xiaoli also came over with a box at this time. Chen Lian looked back at the driver and said, "Dago, please take the box." The driver behind him immediately came over and bowed politely to Lu Xiaoli, then took the box from her hand and stood aside. Lu Xiaoli was stunned for a moment. She didn't expect that Chen Lian would still be treated like this in Japan. Chen Lian hugged Qian and looked at Lu Xiaoli and said, "What's wrong? Why are you so dazed?" "It's nothing, I just haven't seen you for a long time, and I feel like you have changed a lot." Lu Xiaoli looked at Chen Lian and said with a smile, and she really felt that Chen Lian had changed a lot, as if he was growing up rapidly every time she saw him. "When I first met him, he was just a young actor and an emerging artist. Later, he became an internationally renowned artist in Paris, and later found out that he was also a billionaire. Then he spent hundreds of millions on advertisements on CCTV, and now he has become a world-famous artist, and he is also an artist who shows mercy." Such changes made Lu Xiaoli feel very strange, as if she had been standing still, and he had grown to the point where he was beyond his reach. Lu Xiaoli sometimes wonders whether one day she will be forgotten in a corner by Chen Lian because of her old age and sex. What should I do if that happens? What should Sissy do? But how can I tie him down? Chen Lian didn't know what Lu Xiaoli was thinking. He held Sissy in one hand and held Lu Xiaoli's hand in the other and said, "Let's go first. If I am recognized by someone, it will be over." Lu Xiaoli also came to her senses and said immediately, "Okay, let me block it for you. No one will recognize it." Chen Lian hummed, hugging Sissy and holding Lu Xiaoli's hand, like a family of three, followed by a housekeeper carrying a bag. When Chen Lian brought Lu Xiaoli and Zixi to the courtyard, Lu Xiaoli was shocked. Looking at the art-like courtyard, she turned to look at Chen Lian and asked, "Did you buy this?" "No, it's provided by a friend." "You can buy it if you like it." Lu Xiaoli, "This is not buying buns. Such a big yard is very expensive." However, when she heard Chen Lian say that she would buy him as long as she liked him, she felt sweet in her heart, and her heart, which had not been nourished for a long time, became hot. Looking at Chen Lian playing with Qian, Lu Xiaoli suddenly felt that something was wrong with this scene. Sissy chased Chen Lian and called her uncle. "Uncle! How come such a beautiful picture has such a strange sound? You should call me daddy. Talk to Sissy later and ask her to change her story." Lu Xiaoli looked at them and suddenly felt that something should be added to the picture. It would be more perfect if there was a little boy riding on Chen Lian's shoulders. Give him a child? This idea suddenly appeared in Lu Xiaoli's mind, and then it got out of hand. "I am not sure that I will always capture Chen Lian's heart, but what about adding, 2 children? I don't believe you, Chen Lian, can escape. 5,000 more, still a few thousand words left, I will stay up late tonight to finish it." Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Xiaomao. Chapter 319. Chapter 308-306. Bombing Tokyo. At the dinner table at night, Chen Lian drank the soup stewed by Lu Xiaoli, looked at Sissy and asked, "Sissy, how are your grades this semester?" Sissy was eating tempura, raised her head and looked at Chen Lian and said, "I didn't have any exams, and I asked for leave before the summer vacation." Why did he sound so proud? Chen Lian said speechlessly, "What about your midterm exam? Chinese is 80, mathematics is 86, and English is 62." Sissy became more and more guilty as she spoke. She looked at Chen Lian and said coquettishly, "English is so difficult." Chen Lian sighed, elementary school couldn't even get a double hundred." Maybe Sissy was a little too playful. Chen Lian turned to look at Lu Xiaoli and asked, "Does Sissy take school seriously?" Lu Xiaoli had a headache when she said this, and said helplessly, "No, seriously, the school teacher often told me that she and a female classmate bullied people in school." Chen Lian, he has become a little devil, right? However, Chen Lian, who had read the parenting manual, did not blame Sissy, but asked gently, "Does Sissy have many good friends at school? Why does she fight with other children?" After finishing the tempura, Sissy licked her fingers and said, "They are disobedient." Mimi said, "If you disobey, you will be beaten." "Will you be beaten if you disobey?" "Who told you that? Who is Mimi? Come out, I can't beat you to death, you lead my daughter to evil." Seeing that Chen Lian's face looked a little ugly, Lu Xiaoli quickly took a piece of sushi to Chen Lian and said, "Qingzi is just a friend, and she is not a casual bully." Hearing Lu Xiaoli's words, Chen Lian nodded and looked at Sissy and said, "Sissy, it's wrong to hit people. You can't hit people casually in the future, you know." Sissy said, "Oh," looked at Chen Lian and promised, "I won't hit anyone anymore." Sissy is great." Chen Lian rubbed Sissy's head and gave her a piece of prawn tempura. Children's education is the most troublesome, and Chen Lian has little experience, so he stopped talking to Qian after chatting for a while. After finishing the meal, Chen Lian glanced at Lu Xiaoli and winked at her. Lu Xiaoli understood instantly, wiped Sissy's hands and said, "Sissy, let's go take a shower and go to bed, okay?" "No. I want to play with Uncle." Sissy broke free from Lu Xiaoli's hand, hugged Chen Lian and said coquettishly, "Uncle, how about we watch TV together? Sissy doesn't want to sleep." Chen Lian turned to look at Lu Xiaoli and found that she was also smiling helplessly, so he had to coax Qian to watch a TV series with her that she didn't even understand. Although she didn't understand, Qian looked at it very seriously and was unwilling to let go of Chen Lian. Lu Xiaoli sat next to her and fed Sissy a grape and then a pineapple to Chen Lian, her eyes filled with happiness. These days are called days. She and Sissy used to live in such a big villa, which didn't feel like home. When people's material life is satisfied, they need spiritual companionship. Lu Xiaoli, with a daughter, naturally faces this need even more strongly. If Chen Lian wasn't too busy, she really wanted to let Chen Lian stay with her and Qian all the time, but it was unrealistic to think about it. Even if Chen Lian wasn't busy, he still had so many lovers, and he would have to wait in line for a long time. Unless you give yourself more chips, you will really have to queue up to get a number in the future. However, the premise is that Chen Lian will not change his attitude towards Qian, but looking at Chen Lian's behavior tonight, he is really good to Qian. Lu Xiaoli looked at Sissy who was in a daze and was about to fall asleep, and she couldn't help but feel a little anxious. "Little ancestor, why aren't you asleep yet?" Under Lu Xiaoli's words, Sissy finally fell asleep, leaning against Chen Lian and drooling. Chen Lian carefully held Sissy's head, turned around and said to Lu Xiaoli, "She fell asleep. I will carry her to bed. You go to the hot spring and wait for me. Let's soak in the hot spring and talk together. I miss you. There is a kimono next door." After listening to Chen Lian's previous words, Lu Xiaoli was quite moved, but after hearing the last sentence, she couldn't help but give him a flirtatious look. She knew you were not up to date. But he is still so obsessed with my body. Fortunately, I have always taken good care of it. I will give him a surprise tonight. Chen Lian hugged Qian and went to bed. Lu Xiaoli tidied up briefly, then went next door to change into a kimono and went to the soup pool. This was Lu Xiaoli's first time wearing a kimono. The pillow behind her waist was all crooked. She sat there for a long time and couldn't fix it. In the end, she had no choice but to give up and wanted to wait for Chen Lian to come over and help her fix it. After a while, Chen Lian came over. Lu Xiaoli looked at Chen Lian, who had already changed into a bathrobe, and asked, "What's taking so long? Is Sissy awake and asking you to tell a story?" "Well, she insisted that I accompany her. I told her a story to put her to sleep and then came over." Chen Lian sat next to Lu Xiaoli and said, "Sissy lacks father's love at this age. It will be better when she grows up." Lu Xiaoli hummed, looked at Chen Lian and said, "Qingzi calls you uncle every time. Are you unhappy?" "No, you screamed for her anyway." Chen Lian hugged Lu Xiaoli and said with a smirk. Lu Xiaoli couldn't help but hit Chen Lian, and said angrily, "It's not that you insist on making me scream, I'm obviously older than you." "Then do you like it?" Chen Lian lifted Lu Xiaoli's chin, pinched her red lips and said, "You scream so happily every time." Lu Xiaoli looked at the powerful Chen Lian and her breathing became much faster. She opened her mouth and bit Chen Lian's finger and licked it gently and said, "Everything I call is fake. Don't you want someone to really call you daddy?" Chen Lian paused and looked at Lu Xiaoli and said, "What do you mean? You want Sissy?" "No, Sissy is already so old. It doesn't matter whether she changes her words or not. Don't you want to have a child for us?" Lu Xiaoli watched as Chen Lian suddenly let go of her braided hair, and her smooth black hair fell instantly. It was very charming when paired with a pink kimono. Chen Lian looked at Lu Xiaoli and couldn't help but say, "She looks really like the proprietress of a hot spring hotel. In Japan, she is called a hot spring lady." Lu Xiaoli blinked, looked at Chen Lian and said, "Guest, do you want to experience our signature hot spring?" Chen Lian's eyes lit up, he felt like that. "The next step is to take myself to the hot spring pool, then take a bath together, and then as a guest, I will coyly ask if there are any other items." However, when Lu Xiaoli pulled herself into the soup pool and hung the soup for herself with a spoon, Chen Lian decided to change the script. It has never been Chen Lian's character to be coy, and he should take the initiative at this time. Chen Lian accidentally knocked over the water spoon, and all the warm spring water spilled onto the landlady's clothes. "Sorry, I didn't mean to do it. You must be all wet." "I'm so sorry," Chen Lian said while wiping her wet clothes with his hands. Lu Xiaoli shyly avoided it, looked at Chen Lian and said, "Guest, it's okay, I can do it myself. I'm really sorry. It's all my fault. Let me make up for it." Chen Lian stood up and forced Lu Xiaoli into the corner, reaching out to wipe the water stains on her clothes. "Guest, don't wipe it if you don't want it. The hem of the skirt underneath is also wet. Guest, you can't do it there." Chen Lian turned a deaf ear. He was a good customer who corrected his mistakes and felt guilty. How could he be irresponsible when he got the landlady's clothes wet? After a while, Chen Lian wiped all Lu Xiaoli's clothes, but the kimono, which was not worn in the first place, was already messy. Lu Xiaoli sat slumped on the ground, panting and looking at Chen Lian. Her face was red and she seemed to be sweating on her forehead. Chen Lian looked at her and said, "Mrs. Boss, are you very hot? You're already sweating. Go and wash yourself in the soup pool." "No, no, guest, I'm going back. You can go clubbing here by yourself." Lu Xiaoli struggled to stand up and said, "I'm going back to take care of the child." "Please don't leave, boss lady," You don't want me to wake you up. You. The sound of water splashing was heard. In this empty courtyard, under the open-air night, several night lights emitted warm yellow light, illuminating the entire soup pool in an ambiguous yellow color. I don't know how long it took, but Sissy woke up in a daze and ran to the soup pool. She looked at the water stains on the ground and a few clothes on the ground. She rubbed her eyes and saw no one, then turned to go to other places. Went in the direction of looking for the bathroom. After Sissy left, the calm water surface of the soup pool suddenly stirred up water. Luziali gasped and looked in the direction of the aisle, and patted her chest in fear. Go back, otherwise. Don't. Luziali was interrupted before she could finish her words, so she had to hold on to the bluestone beside the soup pool to hold back her words. The peaceful night didn't seem peaceful until the early sun slowly rose from the sky and the whole courtyard became quiet. At around 8 o'clock in the morning, while Chen Lian was still sleeping, he felt someone bouncing around beside his bed. When he opened his eyes, he saw Sissy bouncing around beside him. Get up! Get up! The two lazy idiots are getting up. Chen Lian looked at Sissy speechlessly, slapped her on the butt and said, Sissy, go out and play, I want to sleep. It's already past 8 o'clock, uncle, why are you so lazy? Sissy squatted in front of Chen Lian, pinched his nose and said, if you don't get up, you will become a lazy pig. Chen Lian sat up in a state of collapse and looked at Sissy and said, you want to play, right? Let's go. Uncle will take you for a morning jog, 10 kilometers. Luziali opened her eyes, took a look, and said to Sissy in confusion, let's go play with Dad. After saying that, he closed his eyes and went to sleep again. Chen Lian got up and went next door to change clothes, then took Qian out for a run. I have to clean it up today. If I dare to play disco on the bedside today, I will dare to play disco on his grave in the future. 20 minutes later, Sissy looked at Chen Lian who was running in front and shouted breathlessly, Uncle, I won't run anymore. I'm hungry. I want to go home to eat. No. Keep running. Another 10 minutes passed. Uncle, I really can't run anymore. Sissy won't wake you up anymore. Kids need to exercise, you know. Keep running, there are still 6 kilometers left. Another 5 minutes passed. Uncle, Sissy knows she was wrong. I really can't run anymore. Please let me go. Humph. Do you still dare to dance on my bedside in the future? I don't dare anymore. After seeing Qian give in, Chen Lian walked over and carried her back. Children must be educated, otherwise they will become naughty children in the future. After Chen Lian returned, he didn't feel sleepy anymore. He finished breakfast with Qian and took Qian out to play without calling Luziali who was still catching up on her sleep. This time I didn't go for a run, but took a car to wander around downtown Tokyo. Chen Lian first came to Ginza and took Sisi to buy a lot of things in Ginza. Then he and Sisi stood on the busiest street in Ginza, looking at the bustling cross streets. Chen Lian and Zixi both wore sunglasses and held an ice cream in their hands, looking very much like two extreme father and daughter. Chen Lian pointed to the busiest intersection and turned to Sisi and said, Sisi, do you think it would look good if I put a super big pink bomb here? Pink bomb, Sisi imagined it for a moment, nodded immediately and said, it looks good. Dad, do you want to put a bomb here? Chen Lian nodded and said, well, would you like to take Qian with us to see her then? Okay, Sissy said with great anticipation, pink bomb. It's pink. Chen Lian ate the ice cream in one gulp and said to Sissy, let's go to another place and go to Shinjuku next stop. Shinjuku was particularly deserted during the day, the neon lights were all gone, and there were no strangely dressed pedestrians on the streets, otherwise Chen Lian wouldn't have brought Sissy here. Sitting on Chen Lian's shoulder, Sissy looked at the listless people in twos and threes and asked curiously, Dad, Are they all sleeping? Well, they all work night shift. Chen Lian looked at the busiest street in Shinjuku and the building with the most neon lights and said, "Sissy, how about Dad setting a fire here?" Sissy tilted her head and looked at Chen Lian and asked, "Is it also pink?" "Yeah, pink. Sissy's favorite color." "Great." 20 minutes later, a father and daughter wearing leather jackets and sunglasses appeared on the streets of Harajuku. The two looked at the street where hip-hop culture was popular, muttering about machine guns in sailor suits, and then disappeared on the street. At noon, the father and daughter appeared here again at the crossroads in Shibuya district. They looked at the crowded crossroads and muttered about something like a Toyoro airship bombing. Throughout the day, the father and daughter appeared in the liveliest and busiest districts in Tokyo, talking about pink bombing, as if they were going to blow up Tokyo. When night fell, Chen Lian and Qian returned to the courtyard. Lu Xiaoli was already in high spirits waiting for them to go home. The dining table was also filled with food. Chen Lian and Qian laughed and wanted to eat on the table without washing their hands. They were scolded by Lu Xiaoli before running to wash their hands together. She may have been running around with Sissy all day, but Sissy fell asleep on the table before finishing the meal. Lu Xiaoli carried Sissy to take a bath and took care of her to sleep, then she changed into a kimono and went to the soup pool. There is a new script today. After Lu Xiaoli recited a few lines silently, her face turned red. I muttered in my heart that Chen Lian had so many tricks up his sleeve. Before going in, Lu Xiaoli thought about her lines again and repeated them a few times before going in. Why don't guests try our specialties? Lymph needs to be detoxified. There is a lot of lymph in this location. Has the customer been saving for a long time? Although the store doesn't allow it, I can make an exception for the sake of our customers. After acting for one night, Lu Xiaoli felt like she could make her debut as an actress. How many actresses could play opposite an uncrowned actor like Chen Lian without falling behind? Snort. We are just gifted. The next day, Chen Lian did not continue to go out with Qian. After letting Lu Xiaoli take Qian shopping by herself, he went to find Ito Murangi. Bombing art requires a lot of manpower, and you also need to have connections and apply to the city hall. After Chen Lian saw Ito Murangi and told him his plan, Ito Murangi was stunned. Lian-kun, this is really exciting. Ito Murangi looked at Chen Lian and said excitedly, this is the big move, let's let art completely bomb Tokyo. Let the whole world see the explosion of art. Chen Lian originally thought that Ito Village 2 would object and even doubt whether he was up to no good, but he didn't expect that he would react like this. This guy is just like me, a lunatic. What a surprise. Chen Lian looked at him and said, Ito-san. Will you support me? Of course. We will fully support you. Let this art resound in Tokyo and attract the attention of the whole world. Ito Murangi looked at Chen Lian and said, Lian-kun will definitely become the greatest artist. Ito-san. Lian-jun. With the support of Ito Murangi, it means that those behind him will support him. Chen Lian is now not worried about any accidents in this artistic creation. The only worry is that there are not enough manpower. Such a large-scale art cannot be completed by one person. Chen Lian thought for a while and called Bo Qing, then called Cai Kuokiang, and then called Li Dabai in Beijing. Shake people. Must shake people. After hearing Chen Lian's idea, both Bai Qing and Cai Kuokiang immediately said they would rush over immediately. Li Dabai, who received Chen Lian's call, also set out to look for people around the East Village. Zhang Huan and Rong Rong were both invited by Chen Lian. One was a performance artist and the other was a photography artist. They happened to be the manpower Chen Lian needed. In less than 3 days, the 5-person team or the 6-person team was assembled. The extra Jifa, who likes to join in the fun, insists on coming over to record this greatest moment. Looking at the camera in Jifa's hand, Chen Lian twitched the corner of his mouth and said, Are you going to record it with this thing? Jifa was stunned for a moment and said, I can only play this. Chen Lian couldn't help but hold his forehead, looked at Jifa and said, you have a rest, I'll do it myself. Chen Lian thought for a long time and called Zhang Wen. When Zhang Wen received Chen Lian's call, he was a little confused as to why this kid remembered to call him. Why did you think of coming to see me? What's the matter? Zhang Wen asked curiously. Chen Lian said directly, I'm looking for you to come over and shoot a documentary. Bring more people here. No, just bring in more people for whatever it is. What kind of documentary? Zhang Wen asked in confusion. Chen Lian coughed and said, brother is going to bomb Tokyo, will you come? What the hell? Zhang Wen's voice rose an octave, suspecting that he heard wrongly. Chen Lian said seriously, you heard it right, bomb Tokyo. Are you coming? If not, I will find someone else. Zhang Wen, is this kid on drugs? You're still too drunk, why are you bragging about it? 3 days, if you don't come for 3 days, I'll start looking for Huo Jian. I never lie to people. After Chen Lian finished speaking, he hung up the phone. Zhang Wen looked at the hung up call in confusion. He couldn't figure out what Chen Lian meant. He couldn't help but muttered, damn it, are you really planning to bomb Tokyo? Damn it, if it's true, I'll consider him my elder brother. After Zhang Wen muttered several words, the more he thought about it, the more he felt hot all over. What if it was true? What if artists are all crazy? What if he really wants to explode? Damn it, no. Must visit. If you go and get deceived, you will be considered a fool at most. If you don't go, you will be a big fool if it is true. This kid better be real. Zhang Wen scratched his scalp and felt that his scalp was itchy and his whole body was itchy. He knew that he was too excited, causing his blood to speed up and it became itchy, but he couldn't help it. I can't control my emotions. Chen Lian didn't deliberately whet Zhang Wen's appetite, but to engage in art, you have to have such an aura. If Zhang Wen refuses to come, even if Chen Lian tries his best to get him to come, he won't be able to take the photo. Come up with something good. Let him figure it out for himself first. It's best to think about it with enthusiasm. Zhang Wen took a deep breath, took out his phone and called Yang, asking him to prepare a crew and go to Tokyo first. Call him at any time. Although Yang didn't know what happened to Zhang Wen, he quickly started contacting the crew. Zhang Wen also booked the earliest flight to Tokyo and was ready to leave. Before boarding the plane, Zhang Wen couldn't help but mutter to himself, you better not lie to me, otherwise my teeth will be knocked out. Let's see if Ningjing still likes you. When Zhang Wen was preparing to come over, Chen Lian also started to prepare. With the full support of Edo Village 2, the funds were quickly in place. Moreover, Chen Lian could handle whatever materials and props that needed to be customized as quickly as possible. Of satisfaction. Chen Lian's team was getting together to study the drawings at this time. Bombing Tokyo was such a large-scale art that required too many things to prepare, and Chen Lian's time was too tight. They were all anxious. Bombing in 6 places at the same time, and each bombing is different, the difficulty is very high. If one place is not completed well, the entire work will be incomplete. Regarding the drawings and the design of the device, they discussed it for a day and decided on it. The main ideas were provided by Chen Lian, and he also provided the design drawings. Several other people just made suggestions for improvements. After deciding on the plan, several people began to discuss how to make these devices one by one. Just when Chen Lian and others were discussing what kind of material would burn pink and at low temperature, Chen Lian's cell phone suddenly rang. When he took it out and saw that it belonged to Zhang Wen, Chen Lian directly answered the phone and said quickly, "Are you at the airport? Wait until I send someone to pick you up." Before Zhang Wen could say a word, the phone was hung up. Jiang Wen looked at his phone in confusion, feeling that Chen Lian was being mysterious and wondering if he was really planning to bomb Tokyo. Exciting. I'm going to die? Jiang Wen was excited and scared now. Although Chen Lian only asked him to come over to shoot a documentary, if he really bombed Tokyo, he would probably be bombed too. Do you want to run away? Let Huo Jiankai be that big fool. Jiang Wen was confused and excited. Standing in the airport, his expression changed. He looked like he was having a seizure. After Jiang Wen waited for about 20 minutes, a man in a black suit and white gloves came over and said in stiff English, "Hello, Mr. Jiang Wen, I'm here to pick you up." Huh? This outfit? This accent? Looking at the expressionless face of the man in black, Jiang Wen couldn't help but mutter, "Where did Chen Lian find the terrorists?" Jiang Wen's heart began to twitch. Although he felt that Chen Lian was not that bold and not that capable, he still couldn't help but fantasize. This is the bad thing about men. No matter how outrageous this kind of thing sounds, they can't help but fantasize about it. Jiang Wen got into the car with anxiety and wanted to chat with the driver along the way, but the driver's English was so bad that Jiang Wen didn't understand a few words. Chen Lian also just solved a technical problem here. He finally solved the flame problem. He had to call a chemical talent for help. A bunch of art people know nothing about chemical reactions. After solving the flame problem, Chen Lian began to think about how to conduct a bombing that was both shocking and safe. Damn, this thing is not easy to bomb. The plane provided by Ito Murangi is not good, and there are flight restrictions. Just as Chen Lian complained, he heard Jiang Wen's rough voice coming from behind him. Are you really ready to bomb Tokyo? Are the planes ready? 20,000 words are done. Go to sleep. Don't scold me after reading this. Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizuda Xiaomao. Chapter 320. Chapter 309-307. Fujiwara Norika's request. Give me another bottle, I need to slow down a bit. Then. A bottle of beer drew a curve in mid-air and was hurriedly caught by a pair of big hands. In the messy studio, the floor was covered with drawings and various colors of paint. Jiang Wen sat on a bucket of paint and drank a swig of beer. Opposite Jiang Wen, 6 whiteboards were surrounding him. Looking at the effect sketches on the whiteboards, he felt that he needed a bottle of cold beer. Damn, it's really bombing Tokyo. Jiang Wen couldn't help but squeeze the can in his hand. Although this bombing was different from what he thought, he was still stunned when he looked at the 6 renderings. Bombing Tokyo with art will not awaken people's blood. No, it will make people's blood flow, but such artistic design will make the scalp numb and the heart feel shocked. Before Jiang Wen finished drinking the beer in his hand and stood up, Chen Lian came over and asked, "Have your crew finished? When can you come over? If you don't come, you can only record the bombing." Seeing Chen Lian's confident look, Jiang Wen was not unhappy at all but was very happy that Chen Lian would ask him to shoot. This will definitely be the most record-worthy scene in the history of modern art. The art completed with the entire city as the drawing board will be the largest artwork in history. Jiang Wen squeezed the can in his hand into a ball and said, "It's ready. You can come over this week. I'll take pictures in the next 2 days." Chen Lian hummed, and there was no surprise. He looked at Jiang Wen and said, "The filming funds will be given back to you. You can figure out the equipment and other things yourself. We will leave this matter to you. Don't worry, but I want to participate in your discussion. I want to know your subsequent plans clearly, so that we can make arrangements easily. Then just take the camera and shoot it. If you have any good ideas, you can tell me." After Chen Lian and Jiang Wen finished talking in a hurry, they were called away by Cai Kuokiang. Seeing how busy Chen Lian and the others were, Jiang Wen took a deep breath, turned around and went out. He didn't have any equipment now. It was a waste of time to stay here. he should go get the shooting equipment first. Zhang Wen also knew a few colleagues in Tokyo, and it was very simple to get a set of shooting equipment. When Chen Lian saw Zhang Wen going out, he didn't care about him. Everyone was busy, each performing their duties. Chen Lian is the busiest person of all. This is his work. The others are just assistants. All decisions and progress must be confirmed personally before moving on to the next one. 6 ideas meant that 6 tasks were being pushed forward at the same time. Chen Lian was as busy as a fly, flying around the room. Time continued to pass, and when the setting sun slanted through the window and fell into the room, Chen Lian raised his head in a daze and stretched his sore neck. Zhang Wen stood not far away and recorded the scene with a camera. In the lens, Chen Lian was half hidden in the darkness and half in the golden sunset. The opposites of darkness, holiness, madness, and reason overlapped in him. It gave people an extremely contradictory feeling. Rong, who was standing by, also picked up the camera and recorded the scene. This photo may appear in art history textbooks and become Chen Lian's most representative image. When it got completely dark, Chen Lian took the initiative to stop all work. That's it for today. We still have 2 months, but we can't ruin our bodies now. Chen Lian looked at his excited companions and said, "Go back and have a good rest." It's normal for everyone to be excited when creation has just begun, but as time goes by and more problems arise, this excitement will turn into pressure, and it will turn into irritability that tortures you until you can't sleep. Seeing what Chen Lian said, they didn't have any objections. They were not stupid, and they all knew that such a large-scale artistic creation could not be completed in a day or 2. Cai Qiang, Zhang Huan, and Rong returned to the hotel together. Jifa and Bai Qing looked at Chen Lian and asked, "Where are you going?" "I won't go to your place tonight. Zhang Wen and I have a drink and talk about recording." Chen Lian looked at Zhang Wen, who had not left yet, and said, "Let's go have a drink together." "Okay, I happen to have a lot of things I want to talk to you about." Zhang Wen packed up his things and said. Bai Qing and Jifa looked at each other, said goodbye to Chen Lian and went back to the hotel. After everyone left, Chen Lian went to the convenience store outside and bought a few cans of cold beer and 2 portions of pork chop rice before returning. Zhang Wen looked at the quick meal in Chen Lian's hand and didn't care. He opened the beer and took a sip. The weather in Tokyo was indeed a bit sultry. Chen Lian also took a sip of beer, then opened the pork chop rice and took a big bite before feeling like he was alive. "How did you come up with this idea?" Zhang Wen also imitated Chen Lian, sitting on the floor and eating pork chop rice. Chen Lian drank a beer and said, "A sudden inspiration? Actually, I don't know. I just thought of it after walking around Tokyo. It's better not to talk about this. You are not a reporter." Zhang Wen said helplessly, "Okay, let's talk about your plans later so that I can plan the shooting." It was a bit convoluted, but the meaning was very clear. Chen Lian ate the pork chop and said, "Actually, we have no plan. The only plan is to detonate Tokyo on August 1st and let the whole world see the flower of art in Tokyo bloom." Zhang Wen couldn't help coughing and said, "Are you sure it's a flower of art? You don't have any other ideas?" "Anyway, my art is like this. How you understand it is up to you." Chen Lian explained casually, looked at Zhang Wen and said, "The discussion and experiments will probably be done here later. Your people can follow the whole process. As long as it doesn't disturb us, this is not making a movie, you don't have a script, and we won't NG, as long as it's a true record." Zhang Wen nodded and said, "I understand. In this case, we won't need many people, but I need aerial photography on the last day. You have to help me with this." "Have you ever had any experience with aerial photography?" Chen Lian asked curiously. Zhang Wen shook his head and said, "No, I just want to find out more this time." Chen Lian, "Are you doing experiments too? But it doesn't matter, it's not your own money anyway, just do whatever you like." After chatting with Zhang Wen in the studio for more than half an hour, Chen Lian left. It's past 8 o'clock now, who is chatting with an old man? When Chen Lian returned to the courtyard, he saw Fujiwara Norika coming as soon as he entered. He was still a little confused as to why she suddenly came here today. Fujiwara Norika and Lu Xiaoli were sitting together and chatting in English. Sissy sat aside and watched TV. She obviously didn't understand and didn't know how she watched it with gusto. As soon as Chen Lian walked in, he attracted the attention of several people in the room. Norika Fujiwara and Lu Xiaoli stood up at the same time and wanted to come over to help Chen Lian get something. However, neither of them moved as fast as Qian. Qian quickly got up from the ground and ran over quickly and shouted to Chen Lian, "Dad, you are back." Chen Lian bent down to catch Sissy, rubbed her head and said, "Well, I'm back. Did Sissy miss me?" "Yes. I want to go find my father, but my mother won't let me," Sissy said, a little unhappy. Chen Lian smiled and said, "How about I take you there tomorrow?" "Okay. I want to see the machine gun," Sissy said happily immediately. At this time, Lu Xiaoli came over and said, "Sissy, don't make trouble, Dad is busy." Chen Lian stood up and looked at Lu Xiaoli and said, "It's okay. I'll take Sissy over tomorrow to play. If she gets bored, she won't make trouble." Sissy immediately retorted, "I won't be bored." Fujiwara Norika, who was behind a few people, looked at the scene and suddenly felt a sense of guilt in her heart. What a happy family. Why did she want to interfere with the mistress of other people's families so much? Fujiwara Norika felt that she was superfluous here, so she looked at Chen Lian and said, "Lian-kun, I won't disturb you anymore. I'll come see you tomorrow." Chen Lian turned to look at Norika Fujiwara and said, "What's wrong? Why don't you come to see me today?" Norika Fujiwara was a little hesitant to say it here. After all, Lu Xiaoli and Sissy were still here. Lu Xiaoli saw Fujiwara Norika's thoughts, so she took the initiative to hold Sissy's hand and said, "Sissy, let's go take a bath and go to bed. Dad wants to chat with Aunt." Sissy looked at Huan Fujiwara Norika and then at Chen Lian, and then whispered to Chen Lian, "Dad, hurry up and talk. I learned a song today and want to play it to Dad." Chen Lian rubbed Sissy's little head and said, "Okay, Daddy will go find you after we finish talking." After Sissy left, Norika Fujiwara took the initiative and said, "Lian-kun, I didn't know that your lover and child were here too, but I didn't expose our relationship." Chen Lian coughed and said, "She is just like you, and do you think it is reasonable for my child to be so big?" Fujiwara Norika, what does it mean? Is she also your lover? And her child is still willing to call you daddy? Chen Lian looked at her and said, "Sissy is her and her ex-husband's child, but I like Sissy very much and treat her as my own child." After Norika Fujiwara digested it for a while, she looked at Chen Lian with complicated eyes. To put it simply, she is a divorced young woman with a child. You really don't have a choice. However, Lu Xiaoli's appearance and temperament are indeed first class, and Chen Lian's aesthetics is really good. Fujiwara Norika looked at Chen Lian for a while before saying, "Do you particularly like Nian Shang?" "Huh," Chen Lian glanced at Norika Fujiwara and said, "Of course not, I also like the 18th one." Fujiwara Norika, I'm so stupid. Aren't all men like this? Asking such a mentally retarded question. Chen Lian looked at the dumbfounded Norika Fujiwara and asked, "Okay, let's not talk about my affairs. Why did you come to see me today? Aren't you promoting the three Maoan sisters?" "The promotion hasn't officially started yet." Norika Fujiwara looked at Chen Lian and said, "I have something to trouble you with." Chen Lian looked at her and asked, "What's the matter?" "I want to win a role, but the movie hasn't been released yet and I have no acting experience." Fujiwara Norika stopped talking and looked at Chen Lian carefully, hoping that he could fulfill his promise. Chen Lian raised his eyebrows and asked, the female lead? No, it's the third female number, Fujiwara Norika immediately replied. Chen Lian nodded and said, I know. I'll talk to Ito Murangi and see the specific situation. Thank you. Fujiwara Norika immediately hugged Chen Lian's arm happily and said, but then she thought that Lu Xiaoli and the others were still there, so she let go embarrassedly. Chen Lian didn't care. He took out his phone and said, wait for me for a moment. I'll ask you now, what's the name of the TV series? News Girl. The character is Natsumi Hoshino. Chen Lian waved his hand to show that he understood, then walked aside and called Ito Murangi and told him about the matter. Ito Murangi immediately said that he would go and inquire immediately and would call Chen Lian back as soon as possible. After waiting for about 10 minutes, Ito Murangi's call came back. Chen Lian answered the call in front of Fujiwara Norika, and Ito Murangi's voice immediately came from the phone. Rita-san, Hoshino Natsumi's role already belongs to Miss Fujiwara Norika. I hope I can help you. After hearing this, Norika Fujiwara immediately jumped up happily with her arms around Chen Lian's neck. Chen Lian looked at her with a smile before thanking Ito Murangi on the phone and hanging up. Thank you. Fujiwara Norika put her arms around Chen Lian's neck and looked at him emotionally. At this moment, she was somewhat glad that she had chosen to be a private ornamental fish. Otherwise, it would not have been so easy to win this role. Chen Lian looked at Fujiwara Norika's hand going lower and lower, coughed and said, it's inconvenient tonight. I'll go find you tomorrow. You can have a good rest when you go back tonight. You don't have to worry about this role. Norika Fujiwara is a little disappointed. She feels that the joy of getting the role is no longer so happy. Shouldn't she be a little extravagant at this time? Chen Lian also wants to be wild, but unfortunately the current conditions do not allow it, but he can test Lu Xiaoli at night, and try to find a chance next time to have a trip of 3. When Chen Lian sent Norika Fujiwara out and hugged and kissed her goodbye at the entrance of the courtyard, a camera lens stuck out of the window of a car in the darkness not far away. Neither of them noticed the car dozens of meters away while they were still kissing each other goodbye. After Norika Fujiwara drove away, the car followed quietly. Fujiwara Norika is the Miss Japan champion and has just starred in the popular IP Maoin Sisters. Naturally, reporters are staring at her. I just followed it casually to try it out, but who would have thought that I would get such an exciting picture? The reporter in the car was thinking about the man in the shot just now. He always felt as if he had seen him somewhere before, and he seemed familiar. It must be a famous person, otherwise I wouldn't be impressed. What a blessing! The reporter said excitedly and continued to follow Norika Fujiwara's car, hoping to dig out other materials. However, Norika Fujiwara went home directly, and the reporter could not continue to track the aniseed. However, thinking about the harvest tonight, the reporter was still very happy, and immediately drove to report to the company. Develop the photo and see who that man is. In the newspaper office late at night, the reporter looked at the man in the photo and thought about it for a long time, and suddenly remembered who he was. Chen Lian. That Chinese artist. The artist who was rumored to have had an affair with Sophie Marceau. The reporter jumped up with excitement and immediately called the editor-in-chief with the photo to see what would be on the front page of the entertainment edition tomorrow. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizuda Xiaomao. Chapter 321. Chapter 310-308. Blast the Rainbow Bridge. Early the next morning, Chen Lian woke up, but before he was ready to go out, he received a call from Norika Fujiwara. Chen Lian thought something was wrong with Norika Fujiwara's character, so he picked up the phone and asked, "What's wrong?" "I was secretly photographed last night. Our affairs were exposed, Fujiwara Norika said into the phone in a panic. Chen Lian, it's over. I can't shake off my reputation as a romantic person. Lu Xiaoli looked at Chen Lian, who was sighing, took the initiative to come over and asked with concern, "What's wrong?" "I was secretly photographed when I was sending Fujiwara Norika off last night," Chen Lian explained, turned to look at Lu Xiaoli and said, "There may be reporters outside today, so I won't take Sissy out. Please be careful when you go back." Lu Xiaoli was stunned for a moment, feeling a little uncomfortable, but she still helped Chen Lian tidy up her clothes and said, "You don't have to worry about me and Sissy, you have to be careful." Chen Lian said yes and went out. Isn't it just being secretly photographed by the paparazzi? Isn't it just a scandal? Get used to it, just love it. Chen Lian has given up on himself now, and doesn't want to worry about it so much. His reputation is already what it is anyway, and he doesn't care about a few more scandals. As soon as Chen Lian got into his car and came out of the courtyard, he saw several reporters outside. They immediately surrounded Chen Lian's car when they saw it. Golu said a lot, but Chen Lian couldn't understand it even while sitting in the car. After the driver understood it, he turned around and said proactively, "They want to ask about your relationship with Fujiwara Norika." Chen Lian said speechlessly, "Ignore them and just drive away." Okay, the driver immediately honked the horn a few times, then drove away from the circle of reporters and drove towards Tokyo University of the Arts. Chen Lian's temporary studio is located inside Tokyo University of the Arts. Those reporters who wanted to follow were unable to get in and were stopped at the school gate. Finally, no one was bothering him, but it wasn't a problem to be chased and intercepted by reporters all the time. Chen Lian made a phone call to Ito Murangi. As soon as Ito Murangi received the call, he took the initiative and said, "Lee Yasukun, I'm really sorry. I didn't do a good job of keeping it confidential. I will handle this matter as soon as possible and it will not affect your creation. Then I'll trouble you." Ito-san. Chen Lian and Ito Murangi chatted for a few words before hanging up the phone. However, this matter has already broken out, and it is not easy to calm it down. The news from Japan has spread along the ocean to all parts of the world. Originally, Chen Lian's lover incident had just cooled down, but now it has become popular again. Soon the name Fujiwara Norika became popular along with Chen Lian. Not only in Japan, the name Fujiwara Norika was also known in Europe and even in Southeast Asia. Some people who didn't mind the excitement even ranked Chen Lian's rumored lovers. Fujiwara Norika successfully made it into the top 3, instantly becoming a gossip topic for countless people. If Chen Lian's lovers were not in the entertainment industry or celebrities like Picasso's lovers, they wouldn't be so popular. But when celebrities, artists, and lovers are put together, it's like a super powerful combination. Full. After Chen Lian handed over the matter to Ito Murangi, he started working under the strange eyes of his friends. "Everyone envy us? What are you looking at? What about you, Zhang? If you dare to film this part, go back to the Central Theater to find Zhou Yun." Zhang Wen was a little surprised by the way Chen Lian looked at him. Why did he feel so malicious? However, Chen Lian's gossip happened at this time, so it would be a pity not to take a photo of it. An artist's private life and art are inseparable. It must be included in the documentary. Zhang Wen doesn't care about Chen Lian's opinion. He is the director and can shoot whatever he wants. What can you, Chen Lian, do? Time passed like this little by little, and more than half a month later, Chen Lian and the others had completed the preparations for 4 works, and the 2 most difficult ones were still unfinished. In the past half month, the news about Chen Lian has not stopped, but has become more and more. Everyone is curious about what Chen Lian is doing in Tokyo by summoning so many artists. At the same time, they are still speculating whether Chen Lian will have a new lover in Tokyo this time. Fujiwara Norika feels that her life has undergone earth-shaking changes recently, and she can't figure out why she suddenly became popular. And it's still so popular abroad. Although every time someone mentions her, they will add the title of one of Chen Lian's lovers before her name, but it's still popular, isn't it? Didn't anyone else say that Chen Lian's requirement for a lover is to be beautiful and a big star? Have you become a big star now? The inexplicably popular Noriko Fujiwara also made many people accidentally discover an interesting thing. Noriko Fujiwara was not popular before, but she immediately became popular because of the scandal with Chen Lian, and she even went abroad to do so. Isn't this a sure way to become famous? I have to work hard to act and find connections and resources, so I might as well spread a scandal. Many people in the entertainment industry are thinking of taking a shortcut like Fujiwara Noriko. When Noriko Fujiwara was promoting the three Maoyan sisters that day, many reporters asked about the story between her and Chen Lian. Noriko Fujiwara didn't know whether she should say it or not, so she finally hesitated and told a story about Chen Lian buying fish, saying that she gained a lot of life philosophy from this story. Reporters, isn't this a fish farming theory? The reporter didn't quite understand it, but many people in the circle understood the meaning of the story. It's not just making fish for someone, it's better to be a fish for one person. Meet Chen Lian. Become a big star. For a time, many female celebrities couldn't help but start asking about Chen Lian. But they asked around and found out that Chen Lian was busy creating in Tokyo and was going to appear at the Tokyo Art Awards in August. Go to Tokyo. See an art exhibition. Chen Lian is troubled right now. He doesn't know that many people outside regard him as a shortcut to success. I originally planned to participate in the Sino-Japanese Cultural and Artistic Exchange in July, but because I was busy creating and bombing Tokyo, I had no time to do anything else. I could only regret that I could not bring glory to the country. Zhang Wen patted Chen Lian on the shoulder and said, bombing Tokyo is the only way to truly bring glory to the country. You can just concentrate on this matter. Chen Lian thought about it, and stopped thinking so much, and began to devote himself to creation. Time passed bit by bit, and Chen Lian and the others also experimented with the implementation of every idea during this period. After confirming that all the devices were completed, all the pressure on them disappeared. Chen Lian looked at the equipment and materials prepared in front of him, and his long-suppressed heart finally couldn't help but surge. The bombing is finally about to begin. Let the flower of art bloom in Tokyo. At night, Chen Lian and Ji-Fa followed Ito Murangi to meet the big guys behind him, and discussed with them the specific operations to follow. They were not involved in the specific art creation, and Chen Lian only introduced it to them. What really needed to be discussed was how to present this art to the world. As Chen Lian's manager, Ji-Fa discussed with them for a long time and discussed using their own resources to make the international art world focus their attention here. After Ji-Fa discussed with them for more than an hour, they finalized the plan. They will use their contacts to invite artists and media from all over the world to visit Chen Lian's works in the past few days. The only shortcoming is that Chen Lian has to complete the bombing within one day, which will make the entire work display time too short. Otherwise, it would be best to divide it into 6 days, so that big news can be made every day. However, Chen Lian did not agree, and only compromised to spread out the time a little bit throughout the day, starting from 8 o'clock in the morning until 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Although this is a little rushed, at least there is still time to respond and the artists and media can see the complete work. 2 days later, on the evening of August 14th, Chen Lian and his party did not rest, but gathered together to make final preparations. At 8 o'clock the first art bombing will begin, and the first one is the bombing of the Rainbow Bridge. At the end of the morning rush hour, give Rainbow Bridge a try. At night, Chen Lian and the workers arranged for him by Ida Muragi came to the Rainbow Bridge. They installed special steel cables on the bridge's steel cables and installed special non-powerful colored powder explosives on the back of the bridge. During the installation of these devices, The Tokyo Metropolitan Police Department supervised and inspected the entire process to ensure that all devices were not dangerous, as Chen Lian said. Zhang Wen led the camera crew to follow Chen Lian and record all the scenes. Time passed little by little, and soon all the devices were completed. Chen Lian looked at the remote control in his hand and wanted to press it now. But he still has other tasks to complete, and Bai Qing is still waiting for him at Fuji TV. Chen Lian immediately took a car to Fuji TV. Under the guidance of the staff, he went to the top floor to put on aerial work equipment and slid down from the roof. Zhang Wen stood on the top of the building and looked at the 100-meter-high building, feeling a little frightened. However, looking at Chen Lian, who had already gone down, he gritted his teeth and took the photographer down to follow him. Chen Lian and Bai Qing are going to complete a huge wall painting graffiti on the Fuji TV building. Chen Lian slid down the wall, his heart still pounding, but looking at Bai Qing, who was already hanging in the air and painting, his heart calmed down again. More than 10 meters away from Chen Lian, Bai Qing watched Chen Lian stop in mid-air before continuing to paint on the wall with a huge brush. Chen Lian glanced at her before putting on the special glasses and starting to work. Zhang Wen and the photographer were taking pictures between the two of them. The photographer murmured curiously, "What are they painting? Why can't they see the paint and there is no color?" "You'll find out tomorrow. It will definitely shock you," Zhang Wen explained and stopped talking. Zhang Wen looked back at the camera on the roof of the building opposite, gestured towards it, and only after confirming that the camera on the other side was turned on normally, he concentrated on taking close-up shots of Chen Lian and Bai Qing. Time passed little by little. 7 or 8 hours had passed, and Chen Lian and Bai Qing were about to land on the ground. The Fuji TV building remains unchanged, with no other colors visible. Chen Lian and Bai Qing seem to have drawn a lonely image. Half an hour later, Chen Lian and Bai Qing both landed on the ground. With large brushes in their hands, they painted from both sides toward the middle, and they soon overlapped. Chen Lian and Bai Qing looked at each other and laughed at the same time. Chen Lian threw the brush into the bucket, looked at Bai Qing and said, "It's done, it's about to start." Bai Qing looked at the sun rising in the distance, hugged Chen Lian and said, "I wish you good luck." Chen Lian smiled and said, "I wish you good luck, I'll leave this to you." "Don't worry, there will definitely be no problems," Bai Qing assured Chen Lian while looking at him. Chen Lian nodded and left in the car. He was going to prepare for the grandest appearance. After Chen Lian left, a large truck drove over and parked downstairs at Fuji TV. After Bai Qing got in the truck to check all the devices, he breathed a sigh of relief. Everything was ready now. Just wait. Just wait until the agreed time arrives. At 7 o'clock in the morning, Tokyo became lively. Many foreigners came out of many hotels in Tokyo and rushed to the Rainbow Bridge. There were many reporters and people from the TV stations traveling with us. When the time came to 7:50, people from the Metropolitan Police Department at both ends of the Rainbow Bridge had already begun to arrange traffic restrictions. Fortunately, the morning rush hour has passed and there has been no traffic jam, not to mention that the traffic restrictions will not last long. Many people at both ends of the Rainbow Bridge were waiting for Chen Lian to start. When the time came to 7:56, a figure suddenly appeared at the top of the Rainbow Bridge. Countless long guns and short cannons immediately aimed at the figure on the bridge. In the cars that were stopped at both ends of the bridge, passers-by also got out of their cars and looked at the figure. They didn't know what happened today. They thought someone was going to jump off the bridge. Ito Muragi and a group of invited artists and art critics watched the scene with telescopes on a large yacht. A helicopter was also hovering above the yacht. Zhang Wen and two photographers aimed their cameras at the Rainbow Bridge and waited for the historic moment to arrive. From the top of the bridge, Chen Lian looked at the rising sun. The golden sunlight shone on him, as if he had been covered with a layer of war robe. Chen Lian glanced at the watch on his wrist and counted down in his mind. When the time jumped to 8 o'clock, Chen Lian suddenly spread his arms and pressed the remote control device in his hand. With a bang, a huge explosion sounded, and a huge explosion appeared in the middle of the Rainbow Bridge. The uninformed passers-by at both ends of the bridge were startled by the scene and couldn't help but scream in horror. A huge explosion in the middle of the Rainbow Bridge raised a huge cloud of smoke, but the color of the smoke was strangely pink. It didn't look dangerous at all and was even full of beauty. Amidst the explosion and the rising smoke, there was suddenly an extremely harsh sound of metal breaking. Passers-by who were still stunned saw in horror that all the steel cables of the Rainbow Bridge were broken, and the long steel cables collapsed. It waved in the air and made a harsh sound. But if you look closely, you will find that the originally broken steel cables are still there intact, and the ones that just broke don't seem to be steel cables. But those ropes floating in the wind still caused people great fear, as if just a little force was applied to the bridge, and the entire bridge would break. The huge explosion, thick smoke, and the rope dangling in mid-air brought a very strong sense of crisis. Everyone on the yacht on the water was speechless for a long time as they watched this scene. They were all thinking about what would happen if everything just happened was true. Will the current Rainbow Bridge still exist? But they soon recovered from the shock, and they all applauded when they saw the art created by Chen Lian. It's just that the person who should receive the applause has disappeared from the top of the bridge. Chen Lian was rushing towards the Fuji TV building non-stop. The people surrounding the Rainbow Bridge quickly disappeared. Only the unsuspecting passers-by were dumbly thinking about whether what these guys said was true or false under the explanations from the Metropolitan Police Department. However, there were also people who were more curious. After learning that the next bombing was at the Fuji TV building, they hurriedly drove there. The Rainbow Bridge was bombed, but what will happen to the Fuji TV building? Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 322. Chapter 311-309. Explode. The art of explosion. The sky in Tokyo suddenly became gloomy at some point, the scorching sunshine was blocked, and the breeze gradually became more rapid. The bottom of the Fuji TV building was crowded with people. Under the building, Bai Qing stood in front of a huge wooden box. Many people around recognized this as Chen Lian's partner. Many artists were looking at Bai Qing and the box in front of her not far away, wondering what the scene would be like this time. Bai Qing didn't look at those people, nor did he care about their comments. He just looked up at the roof of the Fuji TV building. When she looked at the top of the building against the light and saw Chen Lian's figure appearing, she turned around and opened the box. The moment the wooden board of the box slipped, a pink cannon appeared. With the help of an assistant, Bai Qing loaded a pink cannonball into it and pointed the muzzle at the Fuji TV building. Among the crowd watching outside, Sissy was pulled by Lu Xiaoli and shouted excitedly, "Italian cannon! Pink Italian cannon! Dad really didn't lie to me." The corners of Lu Xiaoli's mouth twitched, but she was still very shocked that Chen Lian wanted to bombard this iconic building in Tokyo. Chen Lian, who was standing on the top floor, watched Bai Qing downstairs loading the special shells, then took a deep breath and shouted to the people downstairs. When Chen Lian's shout reached downstairs, he could not hear it clearly, and Lu Xiaoli couldn't hear it clearly either, but Sissy was mumbling something very excitedly. "Pull out the Italian cannon that the 2nd Battalion commander gave me. Fire!" Lu Xiaoli looked down at Sissy and asked doubtfully, "What are you calling Sissy?" "Dad told me," he said he would shoot after shouting. Bang! A loud noise interrupted Sissy's words, and Lu Xiaoli immediately turned her head to look over, and saw Bai Qing pulling the gun bolt, and a shell flew out. The cannonball flew accurately towards Chen Lian, who was standing on the top floor, and then exploded suddenly when it was about to touch the wall. Pink smoke exploded from the cannonball instantly, forming a huge mushroom cloud in mid-air. Pedestrians around the Fuji TV building were startled by the sudden sound of gunfire, and screams one after another rang out from the crowd. The photographers arranged by Zhang Wen and Rong Rong were downstairs to record everything. People's panic and fear were clearly recorded. The mushroom cloud in the sky slowly dissipated in the air, and countless dust slowly fell down driven by the wind. A looming painting appeared on the wall of the Fuji TV building filled with smoke. The artists downstairs looked at the scene in surprise. They had no idea that the bombing was just the beginning, not the end. At the moment when countless dust fell, the wall paintings painted by Chen Lian and Bai Qing with special pigments were adsorbed on the walls. Dust. A huge wall painting slowly appeared in the smoke, and the onlookers downstairs were shocked to see a painting gradually appear. A huge mushroom cloud wall painting appeared, and the terrifying pink smoke of the mushroom cloud seemed to awaken the memories of countless people. The citizens of Tokyo couldn't help but shudder when they saw this scene, and the fear engraved in their bones was awakened. There were many people from Nagasaki who came to Tokyo for tourism or work. They all looked at the scene blankly, with fear in their eyes. While Zhang Wen was recording this scene, he wanted to yell out in excitement, you, if you dare to repeat what happened decades ago, let a real mushroom cloud appear in Tokyo. It's not pink, it's white, the kind that's so dazzling that it can sweep the whole of Tokyo in an instant. At this time, Zhang Wen regretted that he could only carry the camera to shoot. It would be great if he could fire the shot just now. Damn it! I really want to shoot. Downstairs in the Fuji TV building, after Bai Qing saw the mushroom cloud completely formed, he led the people away without paying any attention to those who were still in shock. Many people in the crowd were saying, "This mushroom cloud won't always be here, it's too scary." Naturally, mushroom clouds will not always exist. They will disappear without a trace due to exposure to sunlight or rain. But even if it disappears in the end, this mushroom cloud will become an indelible image in everyone's mind. Many artists and tourists from the mainland are speculating whether Chen Lian's performance art is anti-war or a warning to Xile. It's hard to judge this motive, and on a day like this, it's hard not to doubt what his motive is. But if Chen Lian doesn't say anything, everyone can only guess, and they won't be stupid enough to say anything. Many people have begun to move downstairs in the Fuji TV building. Hurry up and catch the next show. Where is the next show? Ginza, right? Keep exploding. So enjoyable. Those artists reacted the fastest and had already left quickly under the leadership of Ito Muragi. Many ordinary tourists are still downstairs in a daze, or taking pictures with their cameras. There were many Japanese entertainers and celebrities in the crowd. At this time, they were frightened by Chen Lian's two performance arts. They admired such an artist for being a bit too powerful. No wonder such a person has so many people willing to be his lover. It would be difficult for him to resist such a charm. There are many tourists and citizens in Ginza at noon, and it is very crowded, but there are many things covered with black cloth around the square, and there are people guarding the areas around these black cloths. The people around me were wondering what they were doing. At this time, an announcement suddenly sounded in the sky above Ginza, repeating over and over again that an art performance will be held here in 2 minutes. The people around were very strange, but they were even more curious, and they all gathered around to see what kind of artistic performance it was. Chen Lian suddenly appeared here at this time. Those guarding the device began to become nervous when they saw Chen Lian appearing. Everyone was staring at Chen Lian's movements, waiting for his instructions. At this time, there were more and more people around, and Chen Lian stood in the middle. Under his calm face was excitement that was so uncontrollable that his eyes seemed to be burning with flames. Chen Lian walked to the device in the middle, reached out and pulled open the black cloth covering it, and the device that had been hidden was immediately exposed. The moment Chen Lian opened it, other people also opened all the black cloths, exposing all the devices to the air. The gloomy sky seemed to be filled with thunderous thunder as if black clouds were pressing down on the city. Pedestrians around looked at the strange devices and were all stunned for a moment, then shouted, "Bomb! Time bomb! Run!" There's a bomb. Many people in this frightened crowd heard the broadcast just now, and they all knew that this might be an art performance, but they still couldn't help but be afraid. What if it was true? What if it really explodes? Once one person becomes afraid, more people will be infected by fear. Chen Lian's installation is so similar, it's a perfect reproduction. The numbers that stopped on the display and the strands of explosives intertwined together were simply terrifying. In addition, the expressions of everyone next to those devices are extremely cold, and it is difficult for people who don't know why not to be afraid. Chen Lian looked at the commotion and knew that he could not delay any longer, otherwise it would be dangerous, so he raised his hand and pressed the switch in his hand. All the devices suddenly started beeping, like a curse, causing unknown pedestrians to run around in fear. He left behind his date, his loved ones and his family. The whole Ginza was in chaos. There are only 8 seconds on the countdown, and every beep is like a magic sound that scares everyone. Even if everyone knows that it is not true, the fear cannot be controlled. Drip, drip, drip. When everyone was running away in fear, the roar of the explosion suddenly sounded. The huge explosion instantly covered up the noisy and frightening screams. When everyone was afraid and wanted to squat down, they suddenly discovered that there was only huge smoke after the bombs exploded. The thick pink smoke enveloped the entire place at the moment of the explosion. Ginza. The people who were so frightened that they screamed were staring blankly at the gorgeous pink smoke in the sky with their mouths open. The beautiful pink smoke continued to float and fill the entire Ginza, like a festival celebration. But no one felt happy. Instead, they felt like they were surviving a disaster. They fell to the ground and stared blankly at the sky, and the corners of their eyes became wet unconsciously. Wow, I survived. Wife, where is my wife? Where's my husband? The surrounding pedestrians finally came to their senses at this time and began to look for the relatives and friends who had just been left behind. Their hearts were full of shame and anger. The ugliness of human nature was all exposed in just 10 seconds. Such a scene has all been recorded, but Chen Lian has no time to appreciate such a scene now, he has to rush to the next stop. The explosions continue. Not enough. The intersection in Shibuya is a location that has been filmed in many movies. It is very lively and crowded, but at this time, there is a group of people in the middle of the intersection, spraying something into the air. Chen Lian was standing in the middle of the intersection, watching the people walking out while spraying special liquid, and silently counting down in his mind. Those specially treated liquids will evaporate quickly in the air, so time must be taken. Chen Lian watched the person carrying the spray gun disappear into the crowd, then bent down and put on something similar to a flamethrower, then put on a gas mask, and suddenly opened the flamethrower amid the surprised and confused eyes of the people around him. Huge pink flames burst out of the flamethrower in an instant, and the thick tongues of flame instantly frightened the people around him. Chen Lian silently carried the flamethrower and sprayed it into the sky. Boom! The entire sky was instantly ignited, and the intersection in Shibuya seemed to be enveloped in flames, surrounding everyone. Fire is the beginning of human civilization, but the fear of fire is also engraved in our bones. Especially when such a huge flame appears instantly, it is extremely scary. It's just that the flame only appeared for a moment and then disappeared, so fast that it ended before those people screamed. At the crossroads, Chen Lian's flamethrower was still spraying flames. Although the color looked very kawaii, Chen Lian's outfit was really scary. Isn't this the pyro? A great weapon on the battlefield. The surrounding pedestrians finally shouted out their unfinished screams, especially when Chen Lian came over with flames, it was even more frightening. In everyone's horrified eyes, Chen Lian pointed the flamethrower at a pedestrian and sprayed it violently, and the flames instantly enveloped the person. A man whose whole body was on fire was screaming in pain, standing in the middle of the intersection and twisting his body. The constant wailing and the extremely twisted body were like purgatory on earth. Everyone was so frightened by the scene that they didn't even notice when the man with the flamethrower disappeared. Everyone's eyes were focused on the man who was twisting his body and wailing in the intersection. The wailing and painful struggling of his body scared everyone. Gradually, the flames on the man disappeared, and he was kneeling and motionless in the middle of the intersection, covered in black and smoking. Pedestrians around him swallowed subconsciously. Even if some people knew that this was Chen Lian's art, they still couldn't tell whether it was a part of art or whether it was an accident and someone was burned to death. Damn, awesome. Zhang Wen looked at Zhang Huan in the middle of the intersection and couldn't help but muttered, the performance artist has really developed his body to the extreme. It was really scary just now. In the horrified eyes of passers-by around him, the burned man suddenly moved and lifted off his special black coat. Zhang Huan, who was still intact, stood up, bowed to everyone around him, and then got into the crowd. Gone. Only then did everyone realize that it was not an accident. It turned out to be a part of the art performance, but the performance was too similar, and Chen Lian ran away early. I really thought he was running away early. Recalling the flames flying across the sky, the huge flamethrower and Zhang Huan's performance, they seemed to be able to understand the fear. How frightening and painful it must have been for those who were burned by flamethrowers on the battlefield. War. Many people are thinking about what war has brought to mankind at this time. Chen Lian was sitting in the car at this time, drinking water to replenish his energy. He had been busy since last night and was a little tired now, but he was still very excited and felt that his soul was trembling. The art of explosion is really addictive, and it is still in Tokyo. On such a special day, any Chinese will feel so excited that he will explode. Chen Lian sat in the back seat and closed his eyes and took the opportunity to rest for a while. There were still 3 games ahead and he needed to conserve his energy. Next to Chen Lian, Norika Fujiwara looked at Chen Lian with admiration. She had never known what Chen Lian was creating during this period, but after seeing him today, her admiration for him was beyond words. Chen Lian must be the greatest artist in the world now. It's such an honor to be his lover. 1 chapter first. Commemorate this special day.